Once you're there, you have to really work hard as a student. And we thought that this is the perfect platform to do this in. And I expected to see some amazing things. And what I saw instead was a lot of conservatism, social conservatism, right? They didn't want the students to have open access to the internet because they were worried that they would use it for chatting and for browsing porn, right? And while I can understand that, there are ways in which you can regulate that, right? So anyway, the net result was that students actually didn't have the kind of open access to internet through various devices that we thought they would, right? In fact, they were proudly telling us that they had expelled a boy and a girl that year for chatting with each other. So this is the ground reality that we inhabit. And in a world that is increasingly informed by Google searches and AI, you cannot take away the human element, right? So please realize that we still live in a country like India, and of course this is relevant across the world, but particularly in India, there are problems that you cannot imagine unless you have immersed yourself in those kinds of social and economic scenarios. So spend time traveling, right? And I was having this wonderful chat earlier this afternoon about how travel is so eye-opening, right? It'll help break down your preconceptions of the world around you. Okay, time to talk about policy. So, look, strategic thinking is a tool that will come to you. You cannot be taught strategic thinking, at least in my opinion, right? You can be taught the frameworks within which to think strategically, and that's useful, but to genuinely imbibe that, you have to imbibe its core components over a long period of time, right? You have to realize that every decision that you make has an impact, right? And then with practice and with time, you start to incorporate those, the ability to think through your decision making and the reach and the impact of that decision very quickly, right? So you can evaluate ideas very fast, and you can, it's almost like running simulations in your mind. That what happens if I do this? What happens if that happens, or, or something changes? And then you back that up with research, right? With actual facts. And when you combine those two, that's when you can really get, relevant and very powerful strategic insights. So what happened, the short version of the story is in early 2012, somebody at the National Innovation Council, one of the founding members, they reached out to me and they said, okay, we're trying to understand how to create an innovation ecosystem for the country. And can you write a small piece on how design education can play a role in that? So I did. And my small piece was literally a small piece. It was 1.5 sides of an A4 sheet, right? And I got a call back saying, this looks nice, why don't you come and attend a meeting on Monday? So I showed up on a Monday at the Planning Commission, and they have this enormous room. It's like about half the size of this room. This is enormous, but it's a boardroom, right? And they have this enormous elliptical table over there. And I sat down in this room with 30 other teams of designers, right? And design professionals from across the world. So they had been working on this brief for months before, and each of them had like a 200-page document that they were presenting. And so by the time it came to me, I realized that there was this recurring theme. It was like saying that, okay, give us this much land in this location, and we will create a design university with these courses, and we will cater to anything from 500 to 5,000 students, or whatever, something in between, right? So it's possible that that was the brief they were given, but I stood up, by the time it was my turn to speak, it was the evening already. So I stood up with my one-pager and I said, look, creating more brick-and-mortar institutions is not going to solve any problems in India. We've got a problem of numbers. So what we need to do urgently is create an open design school, right? Really a space which would share design learning materials openly. I think these concepts are fairly freely available and they circulate now. In 2012, it wasn't really a thing. So anyway, I think there was that. The other thing that I wanted to do was, I was very concerned that designers in general get lapped up directly by industry, and society at large doesn't get the impact and the benefit of design education, right? So I wanted to create something that I thought of as the National Design Innovation Network. So you can think of it as a large social network for massive social change, right? So essentially what you're doing is you are connecting end users on one platform with change makers. So design students for sure, but also all kinds of other students, right? So essentially this was going to be at the university level. Now what would happen through this network is you could have, for instance, a village somewhere in the back of beyond, underserved, which has a health and sanitation problem. And they put up on the network that we need urgent help with, toilets. So you could have, say, students of product design from Karnavati University wasn't around then, but say at that time NID, teaming up with medical students from, say, AIMS, going into the field, looking at the problem space and designing solutions for that. You could also, through the network, pull in senior designers to act as mentors who would ensure that the quality of the design output was at the industry level, right? And then and you would also have access to industry that would help you to prototype these solutions really quickly, right? So we would have access to, say, any of these, majors. And if the solution was proven to be effective, the government could implement it at scale. Now keep in mind that the government already has a mandate to do development work, right? Why does a lot of that not get done, or why does it take a long time? Because we have a lot of problems. This platform was meant to give the power to address those problems to the people, okay? And the last part of it, last component of my proposal was to create design innovation centers. So the idea was, how do we bring design education to non-design educational institutions, right? Designers themselves were, we live in a very happy sort of echo chamber, right? We always talk about how design is so important and, design can impact the world in positive ways. But actually, the people who move the world are not designers, right? We contribute to that, but there are a lot of other people that move the world, right? We have to work with them. So the idea was, how do you, at inception, ensure that design is part of their vocabulary and their training and their thought processes, right? So anyway, they liked the proposal, and my 1.5 A4 sheets did the trick, and they asked me to join, and I spent 6 months, turning that into a proper policy document on design. The interesting thing is that since 2013, the MHRD has been busy implementing that policy, and in fact, it is, if you look it up online, it's called the National Initiative on Design Innovation, right? So there have been a lot of outcomes from this program, and when we talk about designing for impact, 20 design innovation centers have been created since 2013. 64 spoke institutions have been established. Do you know about the hub and spoke model? There'll be a central university, and then it would cater to and support a number of spoke, universities or institutions. 10 in IITs have design innovation centers, have built design innovation centers since. 9 central and state government universities have done that, and at least 1 school of planning and architecture. And all of this is just in phase 1, right? This was just with a grant of 20 crores. This is going to grow into phase 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. It's doing fabulously well. A few of the target areas that these design innovation centers are covering, for instance, at Pune University, they work in their research areas of chemical, physical, life sciences. IIT Roorkee focuses on issues in the Himalayan region, right? So the idea always was that under this model, you could democratize and give power to the people to address either regional problems or deal with wicked problems which apply to the entire country, and that is happening. The last slide on this is, hundreds of projects and patents have resulted from this initiative. Dozens of startups have been created, and the Open Design School was, well, at least in a way, was reinterpreted by NID when they created their own version of that. and the National Design Innovation Network has been established in IISc, Bangalore. So yeah, a lot of impact, and I think I've been trying to chase this kind of high ever since. These sort of opportunities don't come easy. They don't come often. But anytime you can navigate your career towards this, working with people in power who have the ability to impact the lives of millions, take it as an opportunity. It's a massive learning opportunity, and it's going to teach you a lot of stuff. All right. So the last story for the day is around culture change. This was a project that, this was my second project when I was at BCG, and this was with the Saudi government. And so what was happening in 2019 is that Saudi Arabia wanted to reduce their dependence on oil. And one of the ways in which they wanted to do that was to promote tourism. So they wanted to open up the kingdom to tourism and to people coming in, and essentially what they wanted was also culture change, right, without really calling it out as such. Now, I was brought on board to try and figure out what to do with this problem space, because you've got to try and understand, before you jump into solutioning mode, you have to define the problem. You have to understand it, right? And what is the problem here? The problem is that in all of Saudi, there was no tourism infrastructure, right? The only tourism that had happened till that point was religious tourism, right, for Hajj and Umrah. So what we needed to do was something that would be a systemic level intervention that would endure all kinds of new interventions that were going to happen in the tourism space, right, or in the creation of tourism infrastructure space. So what I worked on then over there was to create an innovation lab, which was going to be a space that would transform the culture of the organization. And how did I do that? I took a small team, I cherry-picked a team of cross-functional people from the organization. This organization was called, at that time, the Saudi Commission for Tourism and Natural Heritage, SCTH. Right? So there's a lot of these royal commissions that are supported by, that are led by various members of the royal family, and they thrive on royal grant money, and they do various kinds of work for the government. So this was the SCTH, and what I did was I cherry-picked these people from across levels and across functions, right? So we had people from marketing, but we also had people from development, web development, right? We had people from various other departments in the organization, and over the course of 2 months, 2.5 months, I taught them skills in design, in agile methodologies, and actually got them to work on the design of this app. So essentially, I did the work, but they worked with me alongside, and through the practice of actually doing all of the steps in design, they understood at a core level what design really was, right? And because we followed an agile methodology, I was able to do one very interesting thing, right? Every single week, I organized an ideation session. We call these immersion sessions. And we invited people from across levels and across functions from partner institutions. So that were interested that were invested in tourism, right? So for instance, Ministry of Road Transport, right? The Airports Authority, Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, and so on and so forth, right? So we would invite people from all levels and across functions from these institutions to come and be part of these ideation sessions. And you have to realize that at that point, this had never happened, to the best of my knowledge, right? Where you would have someone who was like a sheikh sitting across the table from a web developer and ideating on the same problem, right? It's a strictly hierarchical society. That sort of thing did not happen, right? At least in my experience. So what started happening is, in the first week, we were met with a lot of trepidation, but word spread. And by the second and third week, we had lines of people. We had people lining up to be part of this. And we had people from, all kinds of princesses and princes from the royal family that were also attending. So it was very interesting to have that high-profile, sort of presence, but also having them work collaboratively with people across, levels in the industry. And for the first time, perhaps, right? I can't say with any definite certainty, but for the, it just looked like the first time. They were actually taking advice, and people were shooting down their ideas and saying, no, actually, this is a better way of doing it. Okay, this, you may not get it now, but it was profoundly important that this activity happened, right? And what I realized at the end of this was that it led to a culture shift in this organization. And within, I think, 2 months of my leaving the project, the buzz that these activities had generated and this project has generated, raised the profile of this outfit so much that they were transformed into a full-blown Ministry of Tourism. I'm not saying that this project was responsible for that, but I think the fact that we got so many eyeballs and we got so many people talking and really happy and excited about this kind of culture shift, it really contributed to that. So anytime that you get a chance to influence people's mindsets and how people fundamentally think, grab that with both hands, right? And it's your responsibility as a designer to do that. There is no other function that does it as well as design. All right. Okay, and this, in conclusion, I want to just outline what your careers might look like, right? In my experience, you would start off typically as an individual contributor, in which case the things that you would be most concerned with would be developing your proficiency in certain software and various design tools, right? So if you're into photography, you would work on mastering your camera, right? The technicalities of the camera and your skills in photography. Similarly, with product design, you would master the tools, right? So all your core design skills, right? You would be working on critical thinking, or at least you should be working on critical thinking. Communication is supremely important, right? How do you work with other people? As you move up, as you develop further as a designer, you will start to take on additional responsibility. You will start to lead projects. You will start to lead teams of people. You'll be a people manager, right? So people leadership will be an important skill that you'll start to develop. Project management will be absolutely critical. Strategic thinking. So how do you think about the strategic goals and objectives of the business, and how do you align those with the design goals and objectives? Conflict resolution. You're working with people at the end of the day. Not everyone gets along. Sometimes you have to really step out of your comfort zone and mentor people and guide them and counsel them. You have to learn these skills, right? And you have to obviously master processes. And at some point you will reach the level of design leadership, and what does that really mean? At that level, you will be responsible for the vision, right? You have to understand what the requirements are of the entire space that you're operating in, right? What are the business requirements? What are the user requirements? And then you have to craft a vision that will, a design vision. And a design vision will typically work seamlessly, hand in glove with the business vision and the goals over there. You'll obviously work on strategy, change management, like I just described. Relationship building is going to be a big one, because as a design leader, you have to work with, so in my industry, in software, I have to work with engineering leaders, I have to work with product leaders, I have to work with end customers and various stakeholders on the customer end. So how do you manage these relationships in a way that allows your teams every opportunity to go out there, conduct design research, really uncover the problems they need to be solving? So the nuances of your role, really change, and even the core skill sets. And of course, design advocacy, right? You have to advocate for design in your organizations. Another way of thinking this is, is through this visualization. It's extremely crude, but I think it captures the idea, which is you're going to start off with a lot of your core design skills, but as you progress in your careers, the amount of time that you spend on core design will start to shrink. And all of these other skills will take over your life, right? So at the moment, I don't want to paint a very bleak picture, but most of the tools that I use are things like PowerPoints and Excel sheets, because I do a lot of planning for my team, right? My job is not to push pixels anymore. My job is to ensure the conditions for my team to be able to effectively work, right? So the responsibility I have, and I'm very sad about it, that, I don't get to do core design anymore, or very, very little of it. But to be honest, my time would be completely wasted if I was doing that at this point, because I have the breadth and the depth of experience that allows me to function at this level, which is absolutely critical, right? To bring the insights and the sort of knowledge and awareness of design to people who don't necessarily understand design, and then to create a condition or the conditions necessary in an organization to develop the design maturity of that organization and take it to the next level. It's an extremely complex task, and it's a lot of fun as well. When you're a design entrepreneur, you have to do all of this, okay? It is brutal. It's absolutely brutal. You don't have a choice. It's a lot of learning. It's hyper accelerated. You have to do all aspects of this. So for those of you who are considering entrepreneurship, go in with your eyes wide open. Learn every skill you can right now. No skill is too small to learn. Everything will come in handy, right? And at the same time, think about it, right? How much of your curriculum currently supports knowledge in design management, right? Or any kind of management or leadership, leadership skills. In my time, unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of that. We had one course in design management, and we didn't really take it seriously. I really should have, right? You guys have the opportunity to learn these skills, and there are many forums through which you can do that, right? You don't have to only rely on your curriculum and your teachers to do that for you, right? You can actively go out and seek all this knowledge. So do that. Please provide a strong foundation for yourself when you get into the market. And this is my last slide. I think my closing summary would be, please explore diverse paths in design. There's absolutely nothing wrong with specializing. If you want to just do type design, more power to you, right? It's a phenomenal field, extremely important. If you want to just focus on photography, whatever it is, right? You want to just hyper-specialize, okay. But if you think you're the kind of person who wants to explore more aspects of design, do that, right? And do it wholeheartedly. And do it when you're young, right? When you don't have responsibilities, right? Because it's going to be very hard to do that and justify, bouncing around the walls, fighting for a paycheck, fighting with clients, all of that it takes a lot of energy. You have time when you're young. Time is at a premium as you start jumping the decades. Embrace creativity, right? There's something about art this time. You've all been born into a digital world. I think there are so many demands to your attention that you really have to be the gatekeepers of your own minds. So be careful what you're giving your attention to. Like, all of your free time should not be taken up, like, you shouldn't just pick up a phone and look at it because you have 5 free minutes, right? Try to put it down. Even if you're doing nothing, even if you're not thinking anything, there's some empty space which will get filled eventually by some funny thoughts. Give it a chance, right? Just calling it out. I'm sure a lot of you are very responsible. I'm supremely irresponsible, so just calling that out for everyone. Collaboration is unbelievably important. As designers, I don't think, at least in our time, we were not taught the importance of sheer collaboration, right? We had one systems design project in which we worked with other people, but essentially we worked only with other designers, right? So the ability to work with non-designers is critical, because when you go into industry, you will be working with non-designers, right? You have to learn to speak their language. It will give you perspectives on your own work that you couldn't have imagined, right? So please spend time collaborating with people. Stay curious, continue learning multiple skills. We are now in the age of AI, and we don't even know where this is going to take us, right? We don't know what design education, what design practice is going to look like in the coming years. It's going to be crazy, right? Already the impacts are felt in the last year, this year. There are continuing layoffs because AI can do so much of the work, so much of the grunt work, let me say, right, that we used to do earlier, which is good and bad in many ways, right? Because the quality of the work that we do as design professionals then gets sharpened when we start using AI in our workflows. But having said that, going by my experience, what I would suggest is build a vast amount of knowledge and skill, right? Just explore as many aspects of this life that you can, right? Of the function of design and other things, because that will help you to survive the age of AI. You're inheriting that as you graduate, right? So that will give you the skills necessary to do that. Yeah, that's it for now. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, sir. That was really insightful and a lot helpful for a lot of us around here. I would like to invite Dr. Sharmila Sinha to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhimanyu. I'm taking the thing to call you Abhimanyu. And really encapsulating within such a short time the whole journey, insight, learning, experience of yours in the field of design and the world around us, and how design is so important and not to be siloed within just the practice of design. The practice of design is beyond the digital format of the laptop or your tablet of making something, but it is to drive yourself as 360-degree designer. I think that was the most insightful thing that you drew for us. So just recapping on that, so each one of us, to be a responsible citizen, we should be a 360 degrees designer by being sensitive, by having humility, because to accept what the problems are and how we can be a small drop in the ocean and make great change. We should be grounded in tangibility. So I think a lot of students are doing these craft works and they are questioning the why, that why are we doing this? But as you put across, everything that you do, you touch, you feel, comes to use somewhere in your design, and to build collaborative knowledge and to be sensitive towards things around us so that we can grapple with those problems, use the great gift to be a designer, to bring about radical change, and therefore to navigate and lead the world as great designers, building great value propositions and making a change in someone's life. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We shall begin with the next speaker session in 5.
What is happening? Like, this is magic, so it really brought those stars in my eyes, and I realized, wow, so I need to do that. And I was in 5th, 6th grade के around, थोड़ा सा घर में जुगाड़ किया, drawing room, lights switched off, table के नीचे, you put on the lights, and then you start drawing things. No principles there, no nothing around. It's just that what he was doing on the show, I just wanted to replicate that. He was opening his mouth and closing it. And it really just when I put it together, sued it, in a very rudimentary manner, I could see magic happen. And then I started doing it as a hobby. So that went on with me, that hobby, but eventually there is a time when it comes here, when you have to choose your career, and then architecture was the only way. As I was saying, for a long time, it didn't feel that I was complete, and I didn't feel I as Abhimanyu said, like drive the juices inside me. So after finishing, I applied for NID and got into NID, luckily, thankfully. Yeah. And during that time, best phase of your college life, you're like, spending time with multidisciplinary design students, like, thinkers, and you're like learning from your faculty, from your peers, and by doing stuff yourself, and it's a great phase. So I think this is something which I would like, as a college life, this is something which you guys have as a gift. Nobody's going to judge you except for yourself. So definitely make all the mistakes which you can. बाद में बहुत judgment होने वाली है, but at this point of time, make all the mistakes. Hone your skills, which is required for you to be ready for the industry. But this time will never come, and that's why, like, I think it's really beautiful to not just your skills, but hone up your character, and then maybe find a path of what you really wanted to do. So, yeah, speaking about the path of what I really wanted to do was tell stories, and I think it became more clear to me. And unlearning happened. And the decision came in when we wanted to make a short film. With Mr. Ram, three of us went, and he was like aging. He said, I can't really teach you any skills. You guys are anyways learning at this college. Why don't you make a film? It was 2 months period. And we also said, okay, fine, that's a great thing. We have not really put anything together as a project, but it would really be good to take it up as a challenge. And he was right, like, हमको animation principles सीखने के लिए, why would he spend time? The point is, get on with the project, learn, make mistakes, and see where it come out to. How does it come out? So we went, we said, great, let us present some ideas to you, 3 of us, Parag, Mehul, myself. And if you like any of the things, then he said, okay, fine, if I like anything, I will take you as an intern, and then you will get a stipend. And within a weekend, we had some 10 ideas. Another 3-4 days, we had fleshed them out, written like 1-page sort of concept note and things around it. And then next week we were back in his office. We said, take a look at it. What do you think about it? Out of which one idea clicked. I mean, clicked in the sense, when he was reading all through it, he reacted. There was a reaction in him which we saw as an audience reaction. Most of the other ideas, it was like flat, so there was no reaction. And that connected, and he said, okay, fine, why don't we make it into a short film? And one more wonderful thing was happening during the time was animation as a process was going through a certain shift. There were very complex cameras, there were complex setups, there were things required for you to even put together 1 second of an animation. And we were learning that, like, during our college time, but there were also the advent of new tools. You had to, of course, like, follow the same process as a storyteller or a director would, but you had more tools, and one of the tools was Flash, which was primarily being used for web design and everything digital. But we, 3 of us, were able to crack few things around it, experiment, like, in our labs in college, and do some small experiments to get a hang of the tool. However, we had never used that to tell a story, or never use it, like, to basically create an animation shot or something. But over there, 3 of us with a storyboard of ideas, like, and this tool, like, which Mr. Raman had, I think we were pretty much set as a small production house to then put it together. And just by, like, giving that as an example is completely, I can see something which is happening in the current times also. New tools are coming in, and the old tools are, like, sort of getting obsolete, and the old tools are, like, sort of getting obsolete. We're talking about AI, we're talking about, like, things which could change, and that will keep on happening. At any given point of time, nothing is stable, things will move, things will but point what will stay with you is your ability to adapt to the changes. And if you're a storyteller, that's inside you. How do you use this new tool which you have to tell a story? And so that was it, and we put it together. We had a short film, great time. That story was well received. That short film got us a lot of, I would say, awards as student categories. And it was like a fun short film. And it's basically got us to believe that this is, believe that this is great, this is what I want to be, this is what I've been always wanting to do, and I want to get on my next project. And then other things, of course, happen on the way. So coming to where I am right now, heading the kids network, Warner Brothers Discovery South Asia. Warner Brothers Discovery is a combination of things. It's a global media giant. I'm definitely sure that you will find your favorite fan moment over here. So we have DCs in a portfolio. You have all the superheroes from the DC world in a portfolio. We have the Visiting World, which is Harry Potter, Fantastic Beast. We have the legacy animation characters, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Ben 10, Scooby-Doo. And we have, of course, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, The Matrix, and Friends, and many more things. So it's a global media giant, competing in the best of spaces, currently becoming in the tech space with launch of a lot of platforms globally. But India, we're also leader in factual entertainment. So when it comes to creating content over here, we're leaders from Discovery side, we are leaders in this. And also lifestyle. Into the Wild with Bear Grylls is also part of the Discovery portfolio, which we've done multiple stars and celebrities here. So just a little glimpses of something which we created is my favorite show which we created with one of the legendary writers, Amish Tripathi.
एक गाथा जिसे सदियां खुद दोहराती है।
राम राम नाम में पूरा विश्व समाया हुआ है।
एक गाथा जो हिंदुस्तान के दिल में नजर आती है।
Ramayana remains a living story in every Indian heart.
गाथा ये माँ सीता की, गाथा ये श्री राम की, गाथा ये रामायण की, भारत के अभिमान की। पर इस कहानी के कुछ पन्ने हैं जो खो गए हैं वक्त के फेरे में।
श्री राम को एग्जैक्टली 14 साल की वनवास क्यों हुई?
अब वक्त है उन्हें रोशनी में लाने का।
What we found in there was a sign which resembles the most modern spacecraft.
अब वक्त है रामायण के अनसुने रहस्य सुनाने का।
क्या इन पत्थरों से हुआ था राम सेतु का निर्माण? चारों भाइयों की एक सबसे बड़ी बहन थी, but where did she go?
जानिए रामायण के रहस्य। A Discovery Plus Original, Legends of the Ramayan with Amish, 7 अप्रैल से Discovery Plus ऐप पर।
And we are also the leaders in the kids categories. These are the brands, platform which we have: Cartoon Network, Pogo, Discovery, Kids. Most of you would have grown watching Cartoon Network. I grew up watching Cartoon Network, and that's some of the the characters and portfolio which we have in our team over here. So small glimpses of what we do. This will give you a sense of what goes behind making a character or a platform successful, and how as a business there are so much more avenues when you have created that successful IP or a character. So just a glimpse.
Little Singam.
Yes sir.
Goku.
Yes sir.
Chota Beam.
Yes sir.
इतने सारे योद्धा
हो क्या रहा है भाई?
It's the biggest, most epic party. Wow! कितने बच्चे आएंगे?
100 बच्चे।
और बड़ी सोचो।
1000 बच्चे।
अरे बड़ी सोचो।
कितनी बड़ी?
57 मिलियन बच्चे। क्या?
क्यों? किसके लिए?
इंडिया के हर बच्चे के लिए, क्योंकि Warner Brothers Discovery is celebrating every kid in every way.
छोटे बच्चे और बड़े बच्चे.
What fun!
Best friends, close friends and imaginary friends also.
Local heroes और global heroes भी.
हाँ भाई हाँ. Japanese anime,
Konnichiwa.
2D animation और 3D animation भी.
Let's celebrate!
Bunjata!
Warner Brothers Discovery Kids Network.
It's the best! It's the best!
It's the best!
मगर बच्चे हैं कहाँ? जहाँ देखो वहाँ बच्चे और इतने सारे बच्चों को क्या चाहिए?
Entertainment! Entertainment!
Entertainment! वो भी different languages में.
तथास्तु!
Warner Brothers Discovery Kids is going big in 2024. 8 new shows.
It's so cool!
और 44 new movies कि मम्मी से परमिशन तो लेनी ही पड़ेगी.
तैयार हो जाइए.
पूरे साल धमाल.
ये हुई ना बात.
Warner Brothers Discovery Kids का मजा अब स्क्रीन्स पर ही नहीं बट रियल लाइफ में भी मिलेगा.
बहुत मजा आएगा.
और तो और स्कूल में भी. Little सिंघम करे हेल्प में डेयरिंग. छोटा भीम बोले शेयरिंग इज केयरिंग.
Are you ready?
Whatever the challenge, they are ready.
कमाल ही कर दिया.
सोशल मीडिया पे भी तो धूम मची है. और सबसे बड़े बॉलीवुड स्टार्स भी इनके फ्रेंड्स हैं.
Friends नहीं, best friends.
देखेगा पूरा नेशन.
2 सुपर हीरोज एक साथ.
थैंक यू छोटा भीम.
और सबसे ज्यादा मस्ती कब होती है?
Only on our birthday.
अब मजा आ रहा है.
सबसे बेस्ट ब्रांड्स.
Kellogg's चोकोस का छोटा लड्डू.
Jolly Rancher lollipops.
Double the flavor, double the fun.
Happy birthday भीम. Powered by Fresca juices. QR code scan करो और लिटिल सिंघम के साथ करो शेर का टशन. तो क्वालिटी वॉल्स का नया क्लाउड बाइट.
सबसे बेस्ट पार्टनरशिप्स.
Celebrate triple friendship with ITC Candyman Fruity Fun 3-in-1.
टाइगर. मलिंग की प्रिंसेस भी ना मानेंगी हार. तो सब हो जाए तैयार.
क्योंकि Warner Brothers Discovery Kids है.
Kids का favorite.
Parents का favorite.
Stars का favorite. Marketing का favorite. और हम सब का भी favorite.
एकदम पैसा वसूल. एक बार फिर से बताओ ना.
Connect brands to consumers. Licensing, non-licensing partnerships, co-brand TVCs, ensure product integrations.
Biggest teen birthday celebration. #1 kid.
Only on Warner Brothers Discovery Kids Network, where we celebrate every kid in every way.
Right. So celebrating kids in every way and everywhere. We are part of the kids' life, and this is quite important. Like from a creators, when you are making content which you consume, that's like it's a little more simple and easier. But I mean, when you're creating a content for a TG, which is different, and their changes are, their tastes are changing, like at such a fast pace. That's a challenge, like which we have in on my side of things. But the brands have been around here since 1995. Cartoon Network was launched. Pogo was launched as the India-only channel from Warner Brothers Discovery back in the time, 2004, and Discovery Kids in 2015. So we are present, on multiple facets from school contact programs to social media. We have the largest social media community in the kids segment, to brand licensing, to games, and also on the OTT platforms. What really matters on each and every time, like when we're doing something or we're trying to design something or planning something new, what really matters to us is who's our TG and what's really happening. And this question is the most challenging question, like which we keep on facing every season or every quarter, and because there's so many changes happening around that time. 4 to 12 years, boys and girls, this is the first core of influence, which is your parents, school, friends, but then the world starts to expand when the kids are growing up. And they're going through so many physical, mental, social skill development, leading to a lot of chaos, I mean, they are also trying to figure out themselves, like what are their boundaries. And you see these kids trying to do in different manner. आप उनको बोलते हो कि ये नहीं करना, but the kids go still and do it. And that's what, they're trying to figure out their boundaries, which is quite beautiful. Now, we, as creators, try to figure out how do we fit into this universe. What is it that we, where do we come in to help in the development, help them, figure out what's missing, in their growth. And that's where, we come as an influence when they go looking for larger than life heroes. This is something, like an imaginary hero, or a hero, which can have that positive influence around them. And then the whole world starts opening for us. If this is something, which we're providing, what do we do? What do we tell them? How do we engage with them? What kind of stories are we telling? What is it, entails the winning good over evil, or is it school-based, fun, musty, friendship? And those are the things, which goes into the insights to help us really design a show for them. So two of the key shows which I'll be talking today is Little Singham and Fukre Boys. Now, Little Singham, which we launched in 2018, comes from the legacy of already existing character in the theatrical universe by the name of Singham. The movies have been made multiple times in various regions by different directors, and primarily in the Hindi industry as Singham by Rohit Shetty. And when we were looking at creating a new show to make a difference, because Discovery Kids during that time was kind of lacking in its reach and rating, and it was inconsequential in the entire system. So we had about 30 different pitches and IPs and development projects going on to look into, and we had to filter it out through that. So we went on research across India in 7 different markets, looking at what the kids would connect with, and how can we then shape the show into a long-running series. And Little Singham really came out at the top, which is the kids' need of finding a hero who they can join a journey with, going into imagination, defeating villains, going into adventures every day, who can relate to them when the problems they're going through. And this channelized, through the stories of Little Singham. They found inspiration, they found strength, and they found that the ability to go and do things out there, which is encapsulated in the word Atamaji Satakli. It's yes, we can do it. And then Fukre, this is again, based on a Bollywood IP, amazing, series which was created. But when you look at it from a lens of a kid's broadcaster, I could see that there is a lot of story. It has imagination, it has characters who are quite atrangi, and then there's a mix of things which I could see putting them in a school setup. That something will come up which is very unique out of the shows. So, little glimpse of each of them here.
नाम भी सेम है और एंट्री भी सेम है, स्टाइल और स्वैग के साथ दोनों का एटीट्यूड भी सेम है।
आया सब शेम टू शेम, बट डिफरेंट क्या है?
डिफरेंट?
आतामाजी सटकली डिफरेंट है, शेर का टशन।
बाबा रे बाबा, सिंघम लिटिल हो गया। पुलिस की वर्दी, शेर का दम।
नाम है मेरा
लिटिल सिंघम।
Dabur Red Toothpaste presents Little Singham. Starts 21st April, 1:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. on Discovery Kids.
Right, so this really helped, put together a perfect launch. We had the leverage of a very strong Bollywood IP, a character which is there, but it still did not fit what the kids really wanted. Like, just getting Ajay Devgan and showing it to the kids will not work, may not work. Because that's just one film and he's basically has one problem to solve towards the end of it. We are talking about 500 episodes. How are we going to keep the kids engaged for that longer time? We are talking about 50 telemovies of 60 minutes each. How different would each movie be from the previous movie, and what is it like, that will be different. So while we had the DNA of the movie Singham, we had like a reference of a cop character based on Ajay Devgan, but we didn't want to make it him Ajay Devgan. And we had this entire world which the kids live in, which is full of imagination, which is full of adventures. There is nothing restricting them, like, from going about, like, and going out there. So we wanted to, like, keep that flexibility with us. And so I'm just saying that's again, a kind of learning which we had to, or a development which we had to build within quite early on. What are the flexible levers which we will add into the character so he doesn't look monotonous? What is the unique factor, like, which we are giving this character, which will be quite different? So we devised that this is few things, like, which were added on, is that he's got a lion's tattoo on his forearm. The lion's tattoo is basically Sher ki Shakti isme andar hai. So to justify how is he able to do such superheroic stuff, he's just a kid, like 9-year-old kid. And whenever he senses trouble, it's the spidey sense, that tattoo glows. So he can sense that there's trouble coming in. How does he improvises and be prepared for that? With every hero, like, there is a villain. Now this is, as you can see, nothing, which exists in real life from the Singham movies, but his name is Kal. He brings in doom into the world. That's what his, like, ulterior motive is. He's resurrected from Netherworld, but he has very big ambitions. And that this villain opened up, like, the world of fantasy in Little Singham, who is existing in Mirchi Nagar, in a normal town, but with the villain, like, who's so powerful, come from the Netherworld, with so much power and ambitions to take over the earth, not just earth, but the universe. It opens up more opportunities for the hero to go explore. And these are the, like, the opportunities of fantasy. And we really love that part. Like, this is something, like, shaping up. It's not chore versus police stories. These are opening up to be quite different and interesting. So yes, he brings in a lot of firepower. I mean, as Disney, like, used to say, the bigger the villain, the bigger the hero will rise up to that occasion. And that's what we wanted to build in over here with Little Singham. And he doesn't let Little Singham, like, at rest. So we've done about, like, about 10 movies around them, on this movies. But one particular movie is great because this is, again, we use the tool from 2D animation to 3D to get more engagement from the audiences, and then the whole world opened up, like, in terms of development. So
बुराई के विष ने इसकी शेर शक्ति छीन ली।
पृथ्वी को बुराई से बचाने के लिए मैं हर कोशिश करूंगा।
फैलाएगा जहर का जाल।
काल?
काल नहीं, विष। New movie Kaal Bana Vishkar, 14th August 11:30 a.m. and 15th August 12:15 p.m. on Discovery Kids.
So in this new avatar, Little Singham travels from being a cop to being a different avatar, which is, we show the world, glimpses of the world called Shervansh. This is again imaginary world, not taken from the movie, but if there is a Kaal and there is this fantasy world, where does the Sher Shakti comes from? The idea was, where does this come from? Does it reside in any place? I mean, he's got a tattoo, but beyond that, what's the meaning for it? So the whole world of Shervansh came in, and if there is Shervansh, and Little Singham is the protector or the Shervansh of this era, who were the Shervanshis of the previous era? So you saw the lion, like, anthropomorphic characters, which opened up. Now, this is where the things take beautiful turn, because your normal human kid now resides, not just from a village in Mirchinagar, but in a space like, which is moving in between, multiverses, and there are different villains who can come in. There is magic, there is fantasy. The rides is not just a jeep anymore. He's riding a dragon. And this is what kids really love. You basically, it wasn't thought in, it came in through the process. Every season we were trying to develop things. But we would go back to the core things also. And in all the fantasies opened up, we also brought in Little Singham's mentor, the people kids look up to him as a hero, but who are the heroes he looks up to, and what if he goes on an adventure with them, and if there's an opportunity comes, what will happen? And if a hero's hero comes, then the opportunity should also be that big, or the problem should also be that big that it amounts for their effort and time to come together. So this is
Mahasangram, Mahasangram. Pukar sun, पुकार सुन, पुकार सुन, मन के शुद्ध विचार सुन, पुण्य की ज्योत से गाए जा विजय की धुन, गाए जा विजय की धुन, गाए जा विजय की धुन। दया करे या क्रूरता, दोस्ती या ईर्ष्या, क्या चुनेगा तू बता, घमंड या फिर एकता। झूठ को दे के मात, सत्य का कवच तू बन, भय को तू दे भगा, निडरता का गुण तू चुन। लेके पुण्य अस्त्र की कमान, करने चले वीर बलवान। पाप और पुण्य का महासंग्राम, पाप और पुण्य का महासंग्राम।
So the opportunity presented when, these villains led by Kal takes over Devlok, and there is no, the problem is bigger than Little Singham can himself handle. It's not just about simple chore or police. And just moving it away there. But beyond that, we wanted to add a few more things here. Is this paap ka ghada? There is this philosophy about paap ka ghada bhar gaya, or punya kam hota ja raha hai. So what is the paap? How do we tell, what is a kid ki paap kya aur punya kya hai? How do we tell it in a simple manner? Ki agar aap chori karte ho to ye paap hai. अगर आप jealousy करते हो किसी के साथ, तो वो भी एक पाप है then. But उसके counter, what is the punya? So while Kal and those fantasy villains have taken over, the paap side of this ghada has come heavy, which means the world across, or let's say the universe is now in a big problem. So Little Singham, with the guidance of little Krishna, has to travel these worlds. And he himself becomes the kid. He doesn't have all the punya in him. He has to earn the punya as he goes from the world, one world to another world. अगर उसको डर लग रहा है तो वो निडर होके जाएगा. अगर यहाँ पे उसको jealousy है किसी चीज़ से, तो he will be helpful and kind. The underlying theme was, how do I tell my kid, when he's watching the show, that there is something good for you too to pick up too. So, and when he goes from these 7 different worlds, he will connect the punya. वो सब पुण्य जाकर वो उस घड़े में डालेगा ताकि उसका the balance of both the things come back and they are able to take over the Devlok. And so again, the world expanded in this. We got in some earlier villains from Little Singham's universe. We created some new guys also. The worlds also were very fantasy based, and there was water, air, fire, everywhere we could travel to create that challenge for him and to create that sense of adventure into the story is something which we added. And that was Paap aur Punya ka Mahasangram. It was sort of a mini series, not necessarily in the 11-minute episode. These are all 44 minutes into 11, so it's like as good as you're watching a a mini series or binge watching something like, on an OTT platform, we created something like that. And it did really well, like, in its ratings. Continues to do well, yes. While we travel in these things, this is, I'm talking about, this is sort of a work about 6-7 years, which we're trying to crunch in, so 1 hour, but I'm trying to bring in the key highlights which help, like, us shape the hero and the world around him. So we traveled, like, fantasy, we broke the ceilings, we did something unexpected for the kids and they really liked it. But there was always a question which kids would ask on different forums and wherever, like, we would be connecting or engaging with them, कि यार उसके माँ बाप कौन है? मैंने वो parents देखे नहीं अभी तक. I mean, this is the third year into the show. We're broadcasting and the kids are coming and saying, कि I don't know whose parents are. And actually, that was a conscious decision which we kept right in the beginning because the main focus was the character. He said, if we layer it up with a lot of other things around, there'll be a lot of distraction. We don't want it. Maybe we are not clear at that point of time कि उसके parents कौन होंगे. So we had kept it open. There was no parent shown. We wanted the kids to connect with Little Singham, and that did fantastically well. There was no distraction. It was clear they loved the character. They continue to love the character. But the questions coming in now, not just from the kid, but even from the parents, कि यार मैं अपने बच्चे को खाना खिलाती हूँ, like, बैठता है, but parents ही नहीं है कोई, who's the father figure, what is it? So there were a lot of different problems which were coming in. And so we thought, okay, this is third year, something different we have to make. And we worked well in advance. So the problem presented to us, like, in the second year, we're working well in advance to do problem solving for the third year and make it more engaging. He can't be, he's not doing the usual fights and stuff which he does in the previous season. So, okay, fine, let's try and bring it up. But the point is, the mother can't be a simple mother. Like, I meant, like, if she's not been around, there has been a reason. So we had to go back to why she's not been around. He's, by the time, like, done so many adventures, he's gotten hurt, he's come back, he's fought so many villains. And he's also established himself as a national hero, so he stands up to the pride of the nation. As Desh Ka Sipahi, we created a mini-series around that. So we thought that's a great point, if he's been doing that, the mother is not in his life because she's also on secret missions for the country as an agent, like, and these are international missions, so she didn't have a chance. Maybe she's watching it all this while, whatever it is, but she never needed to because Little Singham was able to manage things by himself. So, yeah, वो अगर शेर का बच्चा तो माँ भी तो शेर नहीं होगी. So this is
Anjan Challenge. Super Cop से भी तेज
मैंने एक काली परछाई देखी थी.
है उसकी सब पे नजर.
उस काली परछाई का नाम है ब्लैक शैडो.
क्या है ये सीक्रेट चक्कर? न्यू मूवी लिटिल सिंघम की ब्लैक शैडो से टक्कर, संडे 9th May 11:30 AM on Discovery Kids.
So if she's a secret agent, she's not going to come like, emotionally, mera bacha, nahi. And the kid is also not like, Little Singham is not, why don't we create a spy versus spy situation around this, where they are probably have the same goal, but there's no trust between them. And like, so that became very interesting to write, that became very interesting to develop, to see a mother and son's confrontation, which happens, at homes. But we just basically, gave it a different scale altogether. ये जो बच्चे बड़े हो रहे होते हैं, I'm going through the same phase, they become like, your biggest challenge, like, छोटे होते तो सुन लेते थे, अभी नहीं है. But how do we capture this within the moment and in this story of Black Shadows के साथ टक्कर? And again, this the feedback while we received, and we're doing it, I think thankfully ears were open, we were open to it, because this movie became the #1 movie of the year when we launched it. Kids loved the character Black Shadow and the the chemistry which his son and the mother shared, and for the national pride. So they became quite regular. So we did multiple other adventures between Black Shadow and Little Singham. And this was happening, we took if you can see the backdrop, this was all happening. The main, the settings was Dubai and Burj Khalifa and everywhere. So pretty much little bit inspired, from Mission Impossible world, but the idea was that that's a great format, spy, these gadgets, and you can't trust anybody, yet you have to win for your nation. So it presented, and so we have the universe where Kal exists. We have basically the fantasy, imaginative villains with superpowers, and then we have this where is a spy angle to it, where India is shining, but other countries are looking at us resentfully, and there's somebody or the other doing some of the other schemes. So this was a great setup. So we keep on exploring within this universe too. But then we also added another layer, at the next season, as we moved on, is we realized that we've seen little, and again, this situation was quite wonderful because it was very unique. And I'm talking about we do 52 episodes and then we get this opportunity of trying something really new, which can give us another opportunity of getting, telling different things to the kids. So yeah.
Super Squad, जीतेंगे हम चारों या दुश्मन का होगा बंदा ढाल, हम हैं सुपर स्क्वाड। BSF की शान में वीर मेरा नाम है, खुसे ले जमाऊं मैं, खुसा एक जमाऊं मैं।
और ऐसे है मुझको प्यार, चीरू is my name, animals or plants है मेरे यार।
शिवाजी from Chennai, मेरा सीन, हलवा मेरा हीरो, दुश्मन की जमा तू आइसक्रीम।
मैं हूँ लिटिल सिंघम, मेरा नाम तो सुना ही होगा,
जब आता माची सटक ली, दुश्मन पे पंजा क्या होगा।
सुपर स्क्वाड, बैंक वर्दी है तैयार, देश के लिए सुपर स्क्वाड, सुपर स्क्वाड, जीतेंगे हम चारों या दुश्मन का होगा बंदा ढाल, हम हैं सुपर स्क्वाड।
So the kids started to identify themselves that they want to be part of Little Singham Super Squad, and that was quite unique. So we went with the proposition on ground at various events, join Little Singham Super Squad, and then increase his fan base. But because he had the Desh Ka Sipahi element in him, the kids over here, basically there is a secret program which the government is running to develop kids with or find or uniquely nurture the kids who have got special talents. And they were able to identify these kids. They come from different setup, Veer is from BSF, Shivaji is from Rapid Action Force, and Chinu is from the Forest Department. So from different parts of India, and then we're trying to get them together on a mission. Again, new team requires new set of villains, and again open the opportunities for creating new villains. Think about them and what would these guys do in a situation where their talents can shine. And of course, when they're coming together, it's not that Little Singham is already a leader within the group. He has to learn to get to adjust, and they all have to come together before they decide, okay, Little Singham is sort of a leader, because that is also something which we can, the idea is that, we are unity in diversity, but we don't really easily gel well. So what are the good things which we look in each other and then try and connect and create a dialogue and, come together as a team. Right. But, yeah, so, so we talked about Little Singham's mentor with his adventures with Krishna, was really well received. Kids love little Krishna as a character. And in an endeavor to expand that, we launched another set of a superhero. Sorry, let me play this again.
दिवाली ब्लॉकबस्टर्स में देव दानवों के बीच छिड़ गई जंग।
प्रलय अस्त्र मेरा है।
अपार शत्रु के खिलाफ खड़े हैं बाहुबली फ्रेंड्स और लिटिल सिंघम।
हृदय अस्त्र उसे ही मिलेगा जो इसका सच्चा दावेदार है।
टकराएंगे महाबली तो होगी इस बार न्यू महा ब्लॉकबस्टर में घमासान। देखिए दिवाली ब्लॉकबस्टर्स में बाहुबली फ्रेंड्स राइज ऑफ अपार शत्रु 12 नवंबर संडे दोपहर 12:30 बजे सिर्फ पोगो पर।
Right, so all the little deities came together when the universe, was at stake, and these are again, the idea is the mentors who he believes in, who looks for that, those opportunities whenever he's off track, and they come together to help him. So kids love, they coming together. This became like a massive universe exploring so many things, and we continue to develop these storylines also, Karan. So yeah, this really helps you going with the proposition as a hero character. Kids engage, they would be engaging with the character. On various different platforms, we go with themes such as heroes of kindness on ground, inspiring storytellings, create, some sort of engagement with the kids in the schools. Of course, Bollywoods come, and we collaborate with the Bollywood heroes. This is like an ongoing thing right now. We reciprocate, share fan base from each other. And during COVID times, we were telling some really unique stories. That was something which COVID, animation we were able to do virtually. So we were able to still create stories, although a little slow, but if they listen from the hero or their main character, it's easier for the kids to adapt to those things. So, and then we were there, at the Wagah border, singing chants for the national heroes, going there with a lot of purpose around it. And this is beautiful because, once we do that, we also get amazing. This is just one of the things of a mother sharing here. How much the kid is now engaged with Little Singham, he just keeps on creating these drawings non-stop, every other day. And we get these fan mails, it's just amazing, and as Abhimanyu was saying, what are the things, look forward to, which create an impact. This is something which really, gives us that shining moment of, and keeps us close to what our vision actually is to be that impactful in the kid's life. And yeah, he's doing it. He probably never drew, but it's just the connect with the heroes, is just making him do so many things. So that's really amazing. Right. Yes. So. Story doesn't end here. We've done this hero, he's 9-year-old, and the kids connect, but every 2-3 years, one batch of kids will, graduate, move out of a core TG, something else will be great for them, Reels, Instagram, or anime will take over, and they'll move out, which is quite natural. But some kids stay back, which is great. But a core TG, this sort of cyclical shift keeps on happening. How do we catch the kids a little early on was the proposition here. So we created Baby Little Singer.
Naughty nut cut milk पीले झटपट पी के आए एनर्जी कैसे खिक कभी हरदम खेले पीकाबू क्यूटी पाई क्या है हाथ में अरे छी 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 चड्डी में कौन
नाक में हमारे इसने कर रखा है दम इसके बचपन से इसे किडनैप करेंगे हम
इतनी सी साइज हरकतें भारी भरकम प्यारा प्यारा क्यूटी कौन है ये नॉटी हंसी से जिसके भर जाए मस्ती का किंगडम
So in the current universe, the villains have not been able to do anything around Little Singham. You know, उन्होंने हर तरीका अपना लिया, हर तरह के villains आ गए. They've tried, you know, whatever they had in their means to do, but Little Singham is still like, you know, the hero. So one of the villains from Little Singham universe is, his name is JJ or Jungli Joker. He brings the bunch of villains together and said, you know, we need to do something different. We need to go back in time. जब ये छोटा बच्चा होगा, तब उसको किडनैप कर लेंगे, उसकी कहानी वहीं खत्म कर देंगे, ताकि हमारी अभी ऐसी की तैसी ना हो. So that was the idea. Through some time traveling device, they, at that point of time, Little Singham is in kindergarten with his set of friends, baby Bubbly and Lattu and Chicky. These are his constant friends, and they are in a kindergarten. And portal opens. You know, he sends a new villain every time in each and every episode. These are non-dialogue. There is no dialogue. So the idea was not to have too much dialogue, because that's in little. We wanted to do a Tom and Jerry take around. Like Little Singham at some point of time became little serious. Yeah, there's always an action, there's always a heightened drama, so he's always into action mode. But we were not able to tackle the Tom and Jerry moment, the lighter side of the action. So here it's completely non-dialogue. Each and every time villain comes, they chase after him. Baby Little Singham doesn't speak, he just does his, and he's not got those superpowers yet, so he's vulnerable. But he has friends, and he's got the fart power and stuff like that, through which they, and lot many other things, they, not just the fart power, but they were able to win the day, and these are like small, adaptations. So, again, this increased the fan base movement. We were able to connect with the younger kids through this action, and, Little Singham universe keeps on expanding. So, something which we did very recently, Chota Bheem, this is like one legendary animation from India. There are kids, I love him, and when you grow up Chota Bheem, but it's like 15th year in its running, and this is the most amazing character which has come out of it. There have been things, and with the whole merger of the company, Chota Bheem is also within the same company. So we produce Chota Bheem episodes also, and yeah, Little Singham. And the moment came together that, yeah, this is like a Shah Rukh Khan meets Salman Khan moment, and how can we do it? But there were complexities. These are from different studios, they're different IP owners, and they all each have their own goals. However, we started presenting the idea. We discussed it with the guys, can we do it? Can we crack it up? This could be a great moment in the kids genre, in the kid broadcasting world. And thankfully, we were able to work it out with them. It took a long discussion. These are like 7 months of discussion to even come to, okay, kuch karte hain. So it's not easy, but now, ab agar hona hai to karna kya hai? What do we do about it? If this opportunity comes in hand, what will we do? Like, how will we have एक मैदान में 2 तलवारें होंगी तो थोड़ी मजा आएगा. So what is it? So we came with an idea like Little Singham is a cop. Of course, when the heroes are coming together, the villains will also be there. So they won't have their amazing villains who are class apart, and they are obviously scheming something big. But what if Chota Bheem, who has been ideal through the time, 15 years, uske upar kuch ek ilzam nahi laga. What if the villains or something happens and he's at fault, for which he has to go to the jail or something. That brings Little Singham to the universe, and then there could be this chase because they don't know each other yet. They don't know okay, fine, who cares? They're both superheroes of the universes. But that opened up a lot of things, that a discussion about their characters, Little Singham, temperamental, Little Singham, action focused, like pehle gussa marega, baad mein baat karega. Chota Bheem, is calm, is peaceful, very powerful, but he's that. So there was this different temperaments, but the same goal. So ek aag hai to ek pani hai, and that's sort of came, little more depth and a meaning to this entire approach for here. So we So what if they had this special power come in through some, intervention or something they have to do to achieve as a goal to then, reach the story. But the idea of, seeing Chhota Bheem behind bar was quite shocking, and we wanted to use that opportunity to create that buzz among kids, and of course, to see that both the heroes can coexist in the same universe.
ब्रेकिंग न्यूज, छोटा भीम को जाना पड़ेगा जेल, लिटिल सिंघम है उसकी तलाश में।
लिटिल सिंघम, मुझे रोकना सिर्फ मुश्किल ही नहीं नामुमकिन है।
इंडिया के सुपर कॉप लिटिल सिंघम का सामना होगा इंडिया के सुपर हीरो छोटा भीम के साथ।
भीम, कोई नहीं ऐसा जो मेरे हाथों से बचा, तू तो गया।
छोटा भीम और लिटिल सिंघम की टक्कर जैसे आग और पानी की टक्कर। क्या लिटिल सिंघम कर पाएगा छोटा भीम को अरेस्ट?
देखिए पोगो पर।
So this got a lot of buzz going social media. Even the kids who were not watching Pogo or cartoons, suddenly came in because they had grown up on watching Chhota Bheem. यार कि ये क्या हो रहा है? कौन जीतेगा? They आपस में उनके dialogue शुरू हो गया, कौन जीतेगा? My own son, was into this mix. He's like 5 right now, and he was asking me okay, I know Little Singham well, but Chhota Bheem कौन सी power है? I said Chhota Bheem लड्डू खा के, and he face palm like Little Singham शेर की ताकत और ये लड्डू खा के, come on, yeah, that matches. It's not evenly matched, but I said. So all those things, was really helpful in adding flavor around this mix, and we did a lovely little promo with Shah Rukh Khan when we were.
हम जो ठान लेते हैं
वो करके दिखाते हैं।
जिद से अपनी मंजिल की तरफ बढ़ते जाते हैं।
हम भी अपनी जिद से दुश्मनों को धूल चटाते हैं,
लेकिन अपनी दोस्ती और रिश्ते पूरे निभाते हैं।
तो सब हो जाए तैयार।
आ रहे हैं पोगो पर पहली बार छोटा भीम और लिटिल सिंघम, 2 सुपर हीरोज एक साथ इन न्यू महा ब्लॉकबस्टर आग और पानी की टक्कर। 31 दिसंबर संडे दोपहर 1 बजे सिर्फ पोगो पर।
और देखिए इनकी नई फिल्म डंकी
इन थिएटर्स नियर यू।
So this movie became the #1 movie of the year, not just the year, but for Pogo, this was the #1 movie in the last 7-8 years, in terms of the engagement, the ratings, we saw some really superb jumps which delighted us. Even we weren't expecting that the audience would be giving this much love to the story. So we are creating more around these guys. आग और पानी की टक्कर के बाद काफी कुछ आग और पानी का आने वाला है. So that's something which we are currently working on for this year. Just wanted to check how much time do we have? 2-3 minutes only. Okay. तो फुकरे बॉयज तो थोड़ा सा फिर जल्दी निपटाएंगे. All right. So फुकरे boys, just by, I don't know if you guys have seen Fukre movies or any one of them, or great, that's wonderful. Because when I saw the first one, I was blown apart. मैंने कहा क्या character है चूचा है, like this is so amazing. He is the most animated character I could see. And I mostly look things through animation lens, so it really helps. But when I saw it, तो मुझे लग रहा था यार जो भी इसकी imagination है, it can really be well put in together in an animated format. And he has this amazing setup. There is a school bully, there's a Holi who's like a bully. Now imagine I've seen mostly boys as the bullies, aa raha hai pitai kar raha hero ki aur usme school mein, but come on, the girl bully, that's such a strong character and Holi. So that was perfect. These two guys, Honey and Lali, Honey, the guy, an analytical guy, putting sense to what you're thinking, but Lali always, shitting bricks in a situation, ki ab main kya karu, and always presenting with a situation. So when we had to develop, a new show, or we were trying to pitch it internally, this was centered around Chucha, ki yaar usko atrangi sapne aate hain. और हनी के जुगाड़ से वो कुछ put, but Lali always has a warning. And then there's Bholi, who is oil-ombed, who's always as a bully, she's messing around with whatever they. Plus putting them in a school, was instantly beautiful because we were able to connect with school stories. On Little Singham front, we were mostly on other adventures, but here, school-centered, whatever is happening here. but we presented with a little bit of swag. These guys are like, backbenchers, so they're not necessarily always, A+ nahi hai. Piche baith ke, like, yet they have to win the day with their jugars, right? And show mein thodi masti hai, thodi aur zyada masti with the teachers coming into the picture, and lots of fukrapanti. So it looked like a nice little recipe and differentiated from the show, which was our hero show, Little Singham and Chota Bheem. So we sort of started discussing it with the Excel Entertainment team, Ritesh Advani, Farhan Akhtar. It took a while, like 9-10 months, to make them convinced that, they're very close to the characters. And you can understand why, because they're amazing. But, any third person comes in and messes around with the brand, nobody likes that. So we had to build a trust with them. We had to, really, it's not just based on Little Singham's success, but that bridge which we, that gap which we had to bridge it with them. Right. So...
सपनों की गोली हरकत ऊट पटंगा हनी के चलाने की जेब पे खाली कदम कदम पे पंगा खुल कर
कोई रुक सपना बिठाने दे
सजाते हैं वेट बड़ी
कोई लो मत
कोई बता सकता है कि टाइटैनिक कैसे डूबा?
सर
यस मिस्टर चूचा,
टाइटैनिक ऐसे डूबा था। टुप 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 Boys, friendship और मस्ती मतलब फुकरापंती starts 12th October 1:30 PM and 7:30 PM on Discovery Kids.
So we created these shorts. Well, that was basically a promo mashup, but these shorts were what really helped bridge the gap and build the trust with the team.
Students, क्या कोई बता सकता है कि टाइटैनिक कैसे डूबा?
सर मैं चूचे फंसवाएगा क्या? हाथ नीचे कर। अरे तुझे भाई पे भरोसा नहीं है?
यस मिस्टर चूचा,
टाइटैनिक ऐसे डूबा था। टुप 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 टुप
मिस्टर चूचा, कौन बताएगा कि मानसून कैसे आता?
सर 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 टिप 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 टिप
साइलेंस, बहुत हो गई। चैते के नाम का घोड़ा कैसे गिरे?
सर धड़ाम से।
बॉइलिंग वाटर किए। मोटरसाइकिल का इंजन। चांदिया ने मून पे जो फर्स्ट आदमी गया, वो कैसे गया?
One more of this.
हाँ भाई फुकरो, क्या किया जरा दिखाओ।
अरे एकदम नया साइंस प्रोजेक्ट बनाया है हमने और इसका नाम है चूरे का पंखा।
अरे चूरे का नहीं, यूरे का होता है, यूरे का।
अरे सर, चूचे का आइडिया है तो चूरे का ही होगा ना।
ओए, ये तो घूम ही नहीं रहा।
ओए 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 सर, सारे पंखे हमारे लिए तो घूमते हैं, तो इस एक चूरे का पंखे के लिए हम घूमेंगे। उई 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 उई। अब मैं स्पीड बढ़ाता हूँ। उई 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 उई। और ये देखो सर, फुल स्पीड। उई 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 उई। ओए चूचे!
So this little school humor, fun, and it just was, as long. जितनी बार भी देखता हूँ, I really love this part because that character Chucha is so amazing and it gives you so much potential to keep building stories on. So yeah, with that, basically the end of the presentation. There are a few other things, but which we are known for is also the anime lineup on Cartoon Network, but I think this one had kept in for the shows which are made in India, for the Indian audiences, and we made it big and at scale. So open for discussions and any questions that you guys have. Thank you so much. All right. Few of the lines I'll take from Abhimanyu basically. Started as as an animator, so it was very hands-on each and everything, and you learned the skill and you learned the tools over there. But now the roles have expanded. It's about looking at the entire vision of the content strategies, the vision. How do you want to position the entire platform? How do we get more insights from the audiences? And then, of course, with the help of great, talented teams, you are able to execute those visions. So yes, that scale I could relate to, that graph I could relate to completely. I think it summed it up quite nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a mood swinger, I would say. I can't find better words. So I would now like to invite Professor Arun Gupta, sir, to please deliver the vote of thanks.
So, yeah, it is interesting to be in this position today because both Abhimanyu and Uttam were once students when I was once a teacher. I'm still a teacher. They have moved on in life. They have zoomed off to new heights. But it's interesting to do this vote of thanks to Uttam because I think what I took from your session and what I took from Abhimanyu's session was the one which you mentioned. But what I took from your session were three things. One is what you said in the beginning, that students should have the courage to fail and make mistakes because later they won't have the opportunity. So this is the time to sort of try and fail and not be afraid of failure. I really liked what you said that. The second thing which was of great interest to me is that how you have looked at Bollywood and converted Bollywood franchisees into Singham Returns and Fukre into very interesting animation content for children. And that conversion is very, very interesting, and that synergy between live action, very popular live action, and animation could actually be developed even further and maybe for multiple purposes beyond what we have been doing till now. Yeah, and I forgot the third, but thank you so much, Uttam, for being here, and I really enjoyed listening to you. Thank you.
Should I unplug this? Yeah. Okay.
2012, he has been working with the international NGO Clowns Without Borders to spread hope and laughters in refugee camps, orphanages, hospitals, villages hit by natural disasters, etc. in a dozen of countries, including India. I would now like to take this opportunity to invite Dr. K.K. Singh to please felicitate Mr. Bijayon Dalman with a veena and a stole. A round of applause, please.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful. Test. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be invited here. It happened quite sudden, like Mrs. Where are you? Pretty Das just gave me a phone call like two weeks ago and invited me to speak, and I didn't really know what to expect, but I of course said yes, and now I'm very happy to be here. It's quite some people. At least for me, I mean, I come from Sweden, and we don't really have people. So to me, this is like a mid-sized Swedish city. I'm a little bit nervous, but I guess we'll get over it. Okay, where to start? My name is Björn, and as you heard, I'm basically an actor. Nowadays, I'm also doing directing and writing and all that, but I'm basically an actor, and I've been focusing a lot of clowning, red-nosed clowning. And I was thinking we have about 2 hours. That's very loud. Are you okay with this volume? Yeah, okay, good. We have about 2 hours, and I'm thinking that I want to... We have 1 hour. Okay, I'm going to speak really fast then. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit... Okay, I talk a lot. We're going to do 4 hours. Okay. I'm going to start talking a little bit about why I started doing clowning, and the work that Clowns Without Borders are doing, also what we're doing here in India. And after that, we're gonna do a few clown games, clown exercises together. So I'm going to invite you to come on floor and play with me. I don't know if you have been warned about this, but that's going to happen. If you don't want to, it's okay. But that's going to happen. And then I'm also, since this is Design Week, I'm going to share some of my thoughts on like how you can think about design from a clown perspective. Because that's what I've been thinking about these lovely 2 days I had here in Ahmedabad. And then I also want to give plenty of time for your questions. My experience of India, it's the 8th time I'm in India. I love India. And my experience is that people here always ask very good questions. So I want to give a lot of time for that. So are we ready to go for real? Yeah, I'm just waiting for the room to kind of settle. Cool, thank you. So I have a very, very good friend. I always loved humor, I loved comedy. Ever since the first time I saw clowns, I always like, oh, this is my kind of silly humor. I love this. One of my very good friends, his name is Rupesh Tillu. He comes from Mumbai. He came to Sweden to study theater, and we became very close friends. And I'd love you to take photos. I'm super flattered, but you know, every time something moves on stage, my focus go there. It's a part of the clown training. We will actually try that later on. So, yeah, please, feel free to take photos, but please stay where you are. Thank you. Rupesh Tillu, he contacted me one day. He asked me to write a play for him. He wanted to do a play about environmental refugees, a clown play about environmental refugees. And I was like, this is such a weird idea that we have to do it. So we started working on this play in some way, I don't know how, he got invited to perform this play in USA. He was invited by the UNESCO Center for Peace to perform it in USA. So we went to USA. He also brought his own clown, like he had a clown solo that he was performing for little kids. So he brought that one as we were anyway going. And we did this tour in the USA with our play. And then at like the final day of the tour, he was supposed to do his play, his clown show for kids, and I was supposed to sleep. And I was really looking forward for that. But that morning, he woke me up early in the morning. He was like really like shaking me. I was like, he stared at me and he said, "Björn, did you ever do clowning?" And I said, "Well, I tried it at a workshop 6 years ago. Why?" He was like, "Get in the car. You're in the show today." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't know what to do." So he said, "Find a clown costume." It's like, okay, how? Because we were in a house on the countryside of USA. We were living at, like in the house of this guy who had invited us. And this was like a big shot. Okay, so I was like, "Hey, welcome." So I said, "Okay, Rupesh, where should I look?" He said, go search this guy's bedroom. And I opened the door to the bedroom. And the first thing I see is a picture of this guy having dinner with Barack and Michelle Obama. And I was like, "Rupesh, I don't think this is the kind of guy who has a clown costume. I don't think." So Rupesh said, "Okay, let's do this." And he took the flippers, you know, the feet frog, yeah, flippers from our play about environmental refugees. And he took the crown that he was using in his other play. And that's what he had. So he said, "Okay, you are the Frog King, let's go." So that's how the Frog King was born, and this is my clown character, and I've been doing about 800 shows with this character since then. This was 2012. Thank you. And I tell this story because I want to share, yes, thank you, Pooja. I want to share with you like the attitude, how extremely like not planned and chaotic and very, very like unpretentious this kind of work, this kind of art form can be. Things just happen. But anyway, me and Rupesh, so he involved me in this show. He said, "Okay, this is what you do. You get on stage and you get on stage, and whenever the audience is laughing, you just repeat what you did. If they laugh, keep on doing it. If they don't laugh, do something else. I want you to get on stage, you place a chair on the stage. I'm going to use that chair later on," he said, "and then you get off. That's all. If they laugh, do what you do, and your goal is to stay on the stage for 10 minutes. For 1 minute. Make sure you stay for 1 minute, then you win." So I get on the stage wearing these flippers and the crown, and we painted my nose red with a lipstick. I got on stage, and the kids just started laughing. I didn't do anything. I just walked, and the kids were laughing, so I just walked a little more, and they were laughing. And someone took out the camera to take a picture, and I started posing for the camera, and they were laughing. And I happened to put the chair on my feet, and they were laughing. After 10 minutes, I hear Rupesh going, "Get off the stage! Get off the stage, it's me now." But to me, this was such a fantastic experience, because I really got to experience what we always say in clowning, and what we will study later on, that it's all about the audience. The show always belongs to the audience. And why I tell this, I tell it to you because I just want you to keep it in the back of your mind. Because now I want to tell you something. I want to tell you about one performance that changed my life forever, and the way I perceive like myself, my art, my clowning. It changed me forever. So me and Rupesh, we were doing our show, we were doing our clown show for a few months, and then said, "You know what, I have a dream. I want to take this show to India, because my aunt is still in Mumbai. She's running a school for kids who live below the poverty line. So I want to make a tour and perform at this school and a lot of other similar schools." So I say, "Okay, let's do it. Let's start apply for money. Let's start apply for funding." We got a little bit of funding, and then the Swedish Clowns Without Borders, which is, we went to orphanages, we went to hospitals, we performed for like people. There was a big railway, and then there was a big highway, and in between there was a big ditch, and in that ditch, around 200 people lived in tents. And they lived there for a couple of months, and then the police comes and say, "You can't be here," so they moved somewhere else, and then they just move around. And So we went there and performed. We went to a juvenile prison where 8 kids were sitting like this. They didn't laugh at all. The policeman was standing like this, watching them. Very strange show. And we also went to Kamartipura. And I think many of you know what Kamartipura is. If in case there's someone that do not know. So it's the red light district in Mumbai. I remember that when we went there, they told me, I mean, this was 2012, so we still had cameras and all, like, they said to me that, okay, you lock the door of the car, you lock the window, you hide your camera, you hide your phone, you hide your wallet. Look straight, they said. Don't look anyone in the eyes, just look straight. And I remember that comment made me terrified. I was like, where are we going? And I tried to look straight, but I couldn't, because when we entered that area, I saw drunk people everywhere. I saw children looking for food among the garbage on the street. I saw, like, I remember there was this guy, he was so high on something, he just, walked out in the street. We were about to hit him with the car, and he didn't even notice. And I saw the pimps standing, leaning against the wall and the doors, and I saw the prostitutes lined up along the streets in their, red lips and very colorful saris. And I remember that I was thinking, they cannot, many of them, they can't be more than 12, 13 years old. But I also remember that when we entered the backyard of this place we were going, so the thing is that we were going to a place, it's like a daycare center. It's this amazing NGO called Ahmedabad that is running a daycare center for these girls who were born at the brothels. Because these girls have nowhere to go, but at least a couple of hours per day, they get to go to this daycare center. And so we were going there, and once we entered the backyard, all these kids, I mean, we already had our costumes on, right? We were red nose and makeup, and I had my flippers. And these kids came out, and they surrounded the car, and they were screaming, and they were laughing, and they were, because they had heard that clowns will come. So they were so excited, and they were still, I mean, the chaos was so crazy that the teachers of this daycare center, they just had to take us to a room and lock the door. And the kids were banging on the door, and they just wanted to get in. And in this room, all the teachers gathered, because they really, really wanted to explain to us who these kids were. And these kids, they told us, I remember they were so proud of these kids. They told us that these kids, their mothers have been trafficked from Nepal, because the owners of these brothels, they do not want women who speak the local language, because if they do, they can just run away. So they traffic children from Nepal. And then these kids, these girls that we were going to perform for, that's the children of these women. So they also do not speak the local language. But they told us that at this daycare center, they learn the local language, they learn mathematics, they learn to read and write. They told us amazing stories about some of these girls that actually grew up, managed to get a nice job. Someone was a doctor, someone was running a fancy restaurant. And they told us these amazing stories about how these girls managed to get out of Kamartipura and then come back and save their mothers. And they told us these heartbreaking things. They told us the reality, like what life this girl lead. And they told us that these are girls, they're hiding under the beds of their mothers when their mothers have clients. And they hear what's going on every day. I remember that when I came back from this, I was crying every single day for 3 months after this show. because this show was the most amazing thing I ever experienced. We were going out there and we just did our show, and these girls were laughing and they were laughing and they were laughing. They were laughing. I never heard people laugh like that before. 1 year later, oh, you think this is the end of it? This is the start of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 1 year later, we came back to the same place and we did the show again. And these girls, they were like, because 1 year had passed, we couldn't, like, we changed the musician, we had a new actor, we changed a little bit. And these girls were like, you changed it. It turned out that they remember every single detail of the show. And to me, that was like, okay, this is how much it meant to them. The third year, 2015, we came back. And then these girls, so the center said, can you perform for their mothers? Because these girls say that never in their entire lives have they seen their mothers laugh. But so this Up and Up, they rented a big space. Some weird way, they managed to bribe all the pimps. So the mothers got 2 hours off. And they came and they saw the show and they were laughing. They were rolling on the floor laughing. Fourth year, we came back. Okay, so this is, I've told this story a million times. I always cry. It's a part of the contract, so don't be alarmed. So, fourth year, we came back. And then we were told that again we were going to meet their mothers, because of some of these girls, they started to play clown games by themselves when they had free time. And they started to play clown games. And the thing is that this is so dark, but we just have to deal with it. These girls used to play rape. That's the game they played, because that's what they've seen at home. But now they started to play clown games. And this used to be girls who said that when someone asked them, what do you want to become when you grow up? They would say, I want to be a madam. I want to own my own brothel. Because that's the one reference they had for what is power and what is money. Now they were saying, I want to be a clown to make my mother laugh. And these girls had put up a show, because at this time Rupert Tillu had moved back to Mumbai from Sweden, and he started to create the Clowns Without Borders India. So he made sure that every week a drama teacher from Mumbai went and helped them. So they had created their own show, and they played the show for their mothers. I never cried so much in my entire life. I was a waterfall. But they kept, I mean, you think this is the end of it. They kept on doing it, and now it's been 12 years. And those girls who were 5 years old when we performed for them, they're teenagers. And they did several shows. They are now role models of the next generation of girls who also want to become clowns. During the pandemic, these girls performed for more than 30,000 kids in the remote mountains. They've been touring Sweden. They've been touring Poland. One of them is now in Germany directing. These girls will not become prostitutes. These girls are clowns. And the reason, what I think, the reason that we are actually, that this could actually happen is because in this kind of clowning there is, so we have the saying, we are not performing for the audience, we're playing with the audience. And this is so, like, I don't believe that anyone can change anyone else's life. I really don't. But I believe that everyone can inspire. And what we want to do is we want to create half an hour where we tell our audience, right now, in this room, today, when we are here, you are the most amazing people in the world. And to tell that to a girl who has this kind of life, or to a kid who has been running away from a war and is now living in a refugee camp or whatever, just to give them those few minutes of that experience. I mean, I've seen so many examples of what this can do to them. So I was thinking that we can play a few games together, and I want to let you experience. I believe that when we experience things, we understand things in a different way than when we're just thinking about it. So I'd like to play a few games with you. But before I do that, I'm just gonna is there any questions so far? Is there anything that's unclear or anything? Then we open up for questions. If there is any. No. Okay, let's play a few games. So you are a lot of people. And I think that for this game, it's good to be around 10, 12 people. So can I have a few people who feels like playing? Yeah, one. Yeah. Come up. You don't have to raise your hand. Just come and play. Okay, so now... Okay, I'm gonna move on now. Thank you. So now I'm all sweaty. So all the photos that are been taken from now on, you will need to Photoshop them. Okay? Yeah, thank you for playing with me, guys. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea, like, about the attitude and how we work to, I mean, clowning, we wear a mask, right? We wear a red nose, it's a mask. But clowning is all about taking away the mask and really let the audience in, let you see what's going on here. So I was thinking I should show you a little bit. Something happened, I'll show you. But the point is, Jesus, my head. I need to work out. The point is that I'm always doing it together with you. There's no like, okay, I'm gonna shut it down for 10 minutes and do my slapstick routine. It's always in a dialogue with you. And this, I'm gonna sit down from it. So, this actually, at least to me, brings me into what I'm thinking about when it comes to design. Because what I'm doing with all these things is that I'm creating a room. Not physically, I mean, I can do that too. But I'm creating a set of rules, a set of agreements that defines this common space we're in. And I have a lot of things that I want to do. Like, first of all, I want to make sure that you feel safe, which is very tricky because many people are afraid of clowns. But I remember, like, I went to Nigeria to perform in refugee camps, children who had been running away from Boko Haram. You know Boko Haram? Yeah, African ISIS. And they were so, like, they were in this trauma was very fresh. When we went to Kamatipura, it's a low-intensive trauma. It happens every day. But here, they had just been running away. So we were like, okay, we really need to take it slow. We entered with our backs towards the audience, and we played like this for like 5 minutes. And then we finally turned around, and we got really afraid of the audience. So we really told them that you are much stronger than we are. And I want to set this rule that it's okay to make mistakes. I mean, I can play that I'm so angry with the hat. Why is the hat always falling? But it's a clownish anger. It's not this, you know, the dark Bollywood camera up close, dark. This, you know. It's okay to make mistakes, and this rule is that I'm doing this for you. Because kids pick up rules so fast. They immediately get this pattern that, oh, if I laugh, they gotta do it again. So I can just share my joy. And what happens is that, you know, if someone there is laughing and I do it there, and then someone there is laughing, I do it there, then I can start connecting. Did you see that she was laughing? Or did you see that he was laughing? Oh, you're both laughing. And you really create this atmosphere that we're in this room together, and here there are new rules. I heard the first ever Clowns Without Borders mission. It was a Spanish clown who went to refugee camps with people from former Yugoslavia. So there were these different peoples. My Swedish, yeah, whatever. There were these people who had been in war with each other. They would not eat together. They would eat at different places. But after the clown show, they started eating together. It's like you enter a room with new rules. So we're designing the rules for this. To me, this is very close to like religious ceremonies, shamanism, because you really do enter a magic world. But the tool that we're talking about is the rules that we set. And to me, this really relates to design. I mean, if I design a room like this, there are the chairs, here's a floor, and here's a projection screen. I mean, we made a few rules. You're gonna sit there, I'm gonna stand here. And then, all of a sudden, I ask you to come on stage, and we have created a new set of rules for this room. Right? If you decide that, okay, no shoes in here, and you put a shelf where you put the shoes. I mean, it's designing a space, but it's also designing an agreement. At least for me, when you take off the shoes before entering a room, that means that this room is quite special. It can be someone's home, or it can be like a holy place. So to me, these things, they really talk. It's a dialogue between the physical reality and, I don't know mental reality, is that a word? I think you get what I mean. And especially when you go to refugee camps, where everything is like a mess, and usually the only thing we have is, we put a rope, because we want the kids to, okay, so we have a clown rule. Whenever someone's phone is ringing, we all look at that person and we go, yeah, we create games, right? We're not aggressive, we just tease him a little bit. Preeti, we are not aggressive. Yes, okay. When we enter refugee camps, we just put a rope, And it always works. Kids understand, I'm going to sit behind the rope, we're going to be on this side of the rope, and we're going to perform. Like we design this very, very simple thing. When I went to Nigeria for these refugee camps, it was quite dangerous because those refugee camps, they were targets for Boko Haram. Boko Haram attacked the refugee camps. So for us, it was super important. We knew that I was not allowed to wear my flippers because I had to run. And we had our phones and our passports and everything like in our costumes in case we really needed to run. We knew that there's the car, here's the audience. If the attack comes, it's going to happen 10 minutes over, like that way, 10 minutes away. We're running this way. In the audience, we have 3 people, like local people. In case there is an attack, they will do this. This means run as fast as you can to the car. So to us, this was a very properly designed space. The directions were super important. We are here, they are there, we perform there, we look at this guy, this guy, this guy. We know that something might happen over there, there is the car. Like, to us, these directions created the space, the design of the space. Like, we know that we're doing a lot of acrobatics. So we knew that we have to, like, if we make a headstand, the 2 acrobats made acrobatics. I was looking. If they make a headstand, they need to be able to jump down in that direction. But it's also created a story, right? To us, this was a story. This was a story about how we want to project joy in this direction, attention in this direction, and the ability to just run in that direction. So to me, this is very much like, sorry, I got, are we okay with the phones? Yeah. What was I gonna say? It was very, very smart. yeah, something like that. You get it, right? To me, because I also, since I'm a director, I also work a lot with set designs. Like, what should we build on this stage? What do we need to tell this story? So to me, it's really, it's all about a story. I don't really know if you are designers, what you're working with and all, but I guess that at least a few of you are working on designing rooms. So that's that about that. Pretty ma'am also asked me to talk a little bit about body language and trauma and the body and all that. Yeah. Yes, if you're okay with it. I'm just gonna check. Yeah, we have 1 more hour, so, and I can talk a lot. So let's do this. I'll get back to that topic. Let's open up for questions and reflections, like if there are any thoughts you want to share or any wishes, requests that, hey, can you talk about this? Let's open up for a while, and then I get back to my schedule. Okay? Yes? Okay. Okay, so the most important difference is that I'm horrible at mime, but I'm okay at clowning. There are also some historical differences. I need to sit down for a while. So, they're very much in relationship with each other. One is because, so there are many clown traditions all over the world. The clown tradition that I'm working in was developed, it came from the Italian street theater in the medieval times called Commedia dell'arte. They were playing in the street with these leather masks with big noses and all that. And from that technique and that tradition, this kind of red-nosed clown arrived. But then, I mean, the clown has occurred all over the world. It's there in the Chinese opera. It's there in the, I mean, Russia has a beautiful clown tradition, etc., etc., etc. And there are like, it's always been a very physical form of comedy. Most clowns also studied acrobatics. I did not. Most clowns studied acrobatics. It occurred in circus, like circus artists who became too old to perform the tricks found a way to do a few tricks but do it in a funny way. Or like if there were people working at the circus, like, okay, between two acts, I'm just going to place a chair. Hey, but I can do it in a funny way. So there's always been a relationship between physical comedy and clown. And of course, mime is a form of physical comedy. And mime also became big in France. And the Commedia dell'arte tradition moved, I mean, it spread to France. And in France, I mean, they have their own clown tradition that kind of comes from this. So that's one relationship. Like there's a geographical and a historical relationship. But then there's also, so in every context where the government have been approving and supporting theater, a very word-based kind of theater develops. Shakespeare, for example. Queen Elizabeth was really supporting theater. You read Shakespeare, it's a lot of words. And I also know that you have some Indian traditional theater forms that are very text-based, right? In context where the government has not approved theater, where the governments have been afraid of criticism, a wordless theater form has arrived. So the Commedia dell'arte, I mean, they were moving from city to city, basically mocking the ones in power, without words. It's less dangerous. Mime, pantomime, this traditional, the wall, you know, it was developed in the streets of Paris when one of the Louis's kings, Louis XVI? I don't know. One of the Louis kings had banned theater. So you want a way to criticize the king without speaking. So it's also a political relationship. And most clowns that I know at one point or the other study mime because it's such a great toolbox. Yeah. Yes, thank you. More questions? No, I can talk. So let me talk a little bit about this. Like trauma and the body and all that. So I mean, we all know that trauma, you know, how to say. English is not my first language, so sometimes I just, and then there's this one word I just can't get hold of. But I mean, trauma happens in the bodies, right? You have physical traces from traumas that happen. The pain can go in the body in different ways. And I know there are many forms of drama therapy or dance therapy, physical therapy, all these things. That's not really what I'm doing. And that's not, I mean, Clowns Without Borders, it's not therapy that we're offering in that sense. But I truly believe that, you know, sharing this magical space, this magic moment, sharing this room, it offers a, it offers a parallel place where the pain actually doesn't exist. You try to feel pain or anger or sadness the very second you're laughing out loud. It's impossible. At least I never experienced that. I have this beautiful, beautiful story. So I was performing in Lesbos. It's a Greek island very close to Turkey. It's a 1-hour boat ride from Turkey. But in December 2015, where Syrian refugees came from Turkey on rafts, that boat ride was 12 hours because the rafts were so overloaded. And the sea was freezing cold, and there were storms, and they were only allowed to stay on Lesbos for 48 hours. So everyone that we met there had just arrived 1 or 2 nights before. And this was before Greece banned aid workers. So there were so many different kind of people from all over the world who just wanted to go there to help. I met a bunch of Australian surfers. This is one of my favorite stories. They were like, okay, we're good with being in the water. We have the tools, we have the clothes, we have everything. Someone needs to help these people, you know, get to the shore. That's probably us. So they just went there and helped people reach the shore. And I think it's so beautiful. There are so many people who's like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clown, I can't help. Oh, yes, you can. If an Australian surfer can find a way to be useful, you can, whatever you do. Anyway, because the situation was so bizarre, we all had an app. And the app, you know, it gave a ping and it says, okay, on this beach, one raft is coming in, we need people there, go. And this app also gave the weather report. And there was this one night that the app was saying storm, 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 storm all night. And so before the shows, the rope on we always walked around in the camp saying, hey, come and watch a show, clown show, clown show, clown show. And everyone always, like, all the kids, even grown-ups, they came up to us and they wanted to hug and they wanted to grab us and all. But this morning, after this stormy night, I could feel in their hands that they grabbed us in another way. I could feel in their hands what they had felt the night before when they were holding on for their lives. And there were many parents who said, because they all spoke English. It was the upper class who could afford paying the whoever arranged that draft. So these were all upper class people. They all spoke perfect English. They were doctors, they were lawyers, there were so many parents who said to us that we can't watch the show. Our little sister drowned last night. And there was this one guy, he came up to me and he started speaking to me in Swedish. I was like, how can you speak Swedish? He said, oh, I used to travel to Sweden. Actually, I'm a magician. And I would have wanted to be in your show, but I can't because I hurt my hand. Because my raft fell over and not everyone could swim, but I could swim. There was this guy holding on to me, trying to save his life. But to save my own life, I had to hit him in the face until he let go. And that's how I broke my hand. If it wasn't for this, I would have performed with you tonight. And I could feel when he hugged me, I could feel in his body what he had felt that moment when he hit the guy. But I truly believe that we can take them to a place where they forget that. It's not gone forever, but at least we have visited a place where it doesn't exist. And I mean, one of the reasons I keep coming to India, I love this whole Ayurveda philosophy of these things. I read this beautiful line by Deepak, help me. Everybody at the same time. Deepak Chopra. Right, thank you. He wrote it, so he was writing about the place of the perfect health that you can reach by meditation. He was saying that if you reach that place, things start to heal. And I truly believe that. It was so amazing because these kids were taking photos of the shows, right? It was me and Rupesh. And this was in Greece, and like 2 months later, Rupesh went to Germany to perform in a refugee camp. And he called me from Germany and he said, you know what happened? One of these kids came up to me and asked, were you in Lesbos? I said, yes. He said, okay. And then he showed a photo on his phone from our show. And he said, this kid said, we've been walking by foot all across Europe. We walked from Greece to Germany, and every day we looked at your picture. So I think that, you know, you can, yeah. Saturday evening, yeah, we watched this guy cry for 2 hours. It was nice. So I really believe that, you know, this place, it means something. And I I have another story on the same theme. So my mime teacher actually, she had been touring on mental hospitals in Sweden together with a magician. And she was performing for people who, I don't have the words now, so I deeply apologize if this is not politically correct, but like people who are so bad that they're like, you can't really contact them. You understand what I mean? And she said that the doctors wrote to them saying that a couple of weeks after their show, all of a sudden, all these people got better. It was like you could get a little bit of contact with them. And she said, and I believe this, that it was the magic that did it. Because I'm going to make some magic for you. So if I just make super simple magic that the kids, I can't do this for 10-year-old kids because they see through it. But if I make a super simple magic, like, oh, I have this thing, and it's here, like, when it's gone, then, oh my God. Anyway, I bet most of you understood what was going on. But the one tiny little second before your brain realized what happened, you were in a magic place where things that didn't used to be possible all of a sudden became possible. And when your brain visits that place, new doors open. And just by visiting this place, it can start a healing process. So that is my understanding of trauma and healing and what performance art can do. That's my favorite. Come on, make some magic, you. It's alive. Yes, it's alive again. I know that there are also a lot, like in acting, in traditional naturalistic film acting, yada yada. We work a lot with where in the body lies your emotion. Like if I'm heartbroken, can I actually find the place for my pain in my chest, and can that affect my body language? But I mean, to me, it's equally true, of course, and I'm sure it can be used for therapy. I never studied it. That's also one aspect of it. But to me, that's more mechanical. I really like to think of health and healing and our very existence also in a spiritual way. And this is what, this is my understanding of it. Yes, please. I was hoping, because this was what I was planning to say. So the rest of the time is for questions and talk, and don't be shy. Please. No. It can be, but usually not. Yes. Oh, what a lovely question. Now the director in me is like, So I'll just repeat the question. So how in communication can you reduce the element of text and words? So, I mean, in a theater piece, you have a lot of channels open. The how do you say, the science, the study of this is called semiotics. I'm sure you're familiar with the word. So, I mean, in a play, I have my text, my words, I have my body, I have my placing on the stage. I mean, this means one thing. This means one thing. This means one thing. This means one thing. Right? Redefining rules. I have the set design, like what what set do you build? You have the costume, you have the props, you have the music, you have the entire house. I mean, it means one thing to perform something at the National Theatre, it means another thing to perform something at an orphanage. So there are so many channels, and then comes the next level where those channels start to talk to each other. My friend Rupert, she always said that we should have the fanciest, the best looking, the most beautiful clothes when we go to refugee camps. Because we want to take them to another world. If we perform like in a school in Sweden, it's not that important. So all of a sudden, our costume, I mean, 1 + 1 is always 3, right? The costume contra the place where we're performing, and the relationship between these two is a story itself. So what I would suggest, I mean, I'm just guessing now, but make a list. That's what I do when I direct. You make a list of all the channels that are at hand. Bye-bye. Yeah, that would be my suggestion. Because after a while, you start realizing that there's so much more than you thought of. I mean, just the poster that you see before entering the show, it gives you a certain expectation, etc., etc. And clowning is interesting. I mean, clown stories are usually very, very simple, right? It needs to be simple. But it also means something, like if you go to a refugee camp and you build like a super fancy set, like a super fancy set design. Yeah, it also means something. Did that answer your question? Thank you. Make a list. Yes. You know, sharing rounds and all these things. We talk before you go. Like, I'm the kind of person who likes to joke about everything. Before we went to Nigeria, we had a little talk. Okay, what's your wishes for this journey? I say, I need to eat. I cannot do 5 hours without food. I get grumpy, I lose focus. Okay, that's super important to me. And there was this girl, an acrobat, she said, I don't appreciate jokes about very serious issues, because we gotta, I want to share this because it's hilarious and horrible, like life. So there was a team that went to Nigeria before us, and they gave us a briefing, and one of the things they taught us was that if someone throws a hand grenade, yeah, it's already in another place, right? If someone throws a hand grenade into the room where you are, you're supposed to lay down with your feet towards the grenade and open your mouth. Because when it explodes, your ears, what do you call this? The thing, it might blow. So you open your mouth to release the pressure. And I hate the fact that we live in a world where people have to know this. But then again, it's the reality. And these were crazy clowns. So they made a joke out of it. They're like, oh, this food is too salt. So this is the kind of joke that, I mean, I'm doing it with you. But this girl was very strict with, I do not appreciate these kind of jokes. So the tricky part here is that you need to be honest with yourself. And we all know that this is the hardest thing in life. But to be able to say that, I can't deal with this. You might think I'm an idiot, but I can't deal with this. I mean, you think I'm weak, you think I'm stupid, whatever, but this is where my line goes. So we're clowns without borders, but we also have very strict borders. But, you know, share and be open. And I always say, I mean, to me, it's very important to allow myself to cry. I also wanted to be, you know, boys don't cry. But I'm a waterfall of these tours. On Lesbos, it was crazy. It was like, get in the car, get out, do a show, cry like a maniac in the car, get out, do a show. Blah, blah, blah. We no makeup on these tours. It's just, you know. But be kind to yourself, and also realize that if you come home from one of these journeys and you need to tell people, I'm going to be very fragile now for a month, do it. Yeah, did that. Thank you. Yeah. But I can also, I mean, there are, I volunteered to go to Ukraine. We sent a team to Ukraine, and I didn't go because my schedule, I mean, it didn't work, but I did join, so to even be allowed to enter Ukraine, and this goes for everyone, you have to attend a certain workshop that, you know, military people have a certificate to give that workshop. So there are also that going on. So I attended this crazy workshop. We were role-playing like, okay, what if you get kidnapped by the army? How do you deal with that? What do you say? And first aid and all these things. So that's also there. But I can also say, I mean, it touches you on many, many levels. In one way, I mean, Kamatipura was in one way the worst thing I ever experienced, but Lesbos was also horrible for political reasons. I mean, I went there, when I was going there, I mean, I'm just sharing my particular view on this particular question in this particular situation. So, I mean, there's no further conclusions than this. But the debate was really intense in Sweden, like, should we close our borders, like many other European countries were doing at the time. And there were actually, so in Sweden we have this far right-wing party who was really like, close the borders, close the borders. People from that party went to Lesbos and handing out flyers saying you're not welcome, at the same time that we were there. And I was so angry. I was so angry, it was shaking my whole world. Because I'm there, I'm like, okay, I go out, I do my show, it's hard. But then I go back to my hotel room and I have enough food, and my country is closing the border. Everywhere, all over the beach, you saw life vests. This big. And every single life vest I saw, I was thinking, I hope this kid survived. I hope this kid survived. And my country was closing the borders. And, sorry, I wasn't, yeah. Nothing became the same after going to Lesbos. It's like all these things you read about in the newspapers and the headlines and everything, all of a sudden it's reality. And then I come back to Sweden, and the newspaper were calling me, and they wanted to do an interview, and everybody was like, hey, can we get a coffee? And they wanted to post on Facebook, like, whoa, my friend went to Lesbos, wow, now we're hanging out. And you're like, you don't know. You just don't know. And people were asking me, how was it, how was it? And I, just in order to defend myself, to not open myself, because you see what happens, I always answered, there are no words. You can't explain what's going on. So yeah, I mean, every time I go on one of these missions, I experience something that I wasn't prepared for, and it's new every time. So yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, yes. Yeah, thank you, I like those. Mm. Say that again, please. No. Sorry, I don't understand. Yes, okay. I'll get the hat. No, I'll get the bag. I get both the hat and the bag. I get the bag. So how to exaggerate the movement to make it funny. Oh, before I forget it, so on you know Rowan Atkinson, right? Mr. Bean. There is an amazing, I don't even know what to call it, documentary slash mockumentary slash whatever, with Rowan Atkinson. You find it on YouTube. Laughing Matters, it's called. Have you seen it? Yeah. Okay, good. He explains it better than anyone else. But I can just show you the tools that I'm working with. So what's happening is that one thing is speed. So if I just do this, it's a flow. So what I want to do is, it's really like a cartoon. Here is the first picture that I want you to see. I want you all to understand this. This is the setup of the joke. And then I want you to look at my eyes because something's going on. And then it starts to roll. And then I freeze here. I want you to remember this picture. And then I share with you. So I really I do what you do, basically. I make picture, 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 picture. And I want to, and another way, I mean, this is a mime thing. I want straight and clear lines. So I'm not here. Like you see my two arms as like these two arms that they are aligned and this leg is emphasizing the whole thing. And if I look here, or if I look here, or if I look here, it means different things. So directions and alignments is another tool. And just trying to make it clear, like, if this is what I want you to see, then this is all that's going on. This elbow is not here, the head is not tilted. So it's also a lot about like cleaning, make it clean, make it clean, make it clean. Because, and this is so interesting because it all comes from street theater, right? Imagine you're in a plaza in Rome and you're performing and there are people walking around and screaming and crying and everything. So you need to be crystal clear about everything because you don't have the lights and all. So yeah, that's the tools that I can think of right now. And I mean, exactly, you're all looking there now. Where I look, the audience will look. If I look at you, you will look at me. If I look at this bag, you will look at this bag. If I'm looking there, I mean, you know that something's gonna happen with this wall. So where you look is also super important. Yeah. But watch Rowan Atkinson, he's the master. Oh, more questions? Yes? Wow. I mean, to me, my personal cathartic use easier words, cathartic moments, they happen during rehearsals. And when I give these kind of speeches, that's quite new to me. During rehearsals, so during the creative process. So after my first trip to India, I went home and I did a solo version of Frankenstein. And during that, and I wanted to like, okay, what is the nature of evil? And during that show, I actually told the whole Kamatipura story. I really stepped out of character and was like, okay, I don't know how to play this scene. But I was thinking about when I went to Kamatipura, and because, again, the anger that I felt. When I heard the stories, I wanted to go out on the streets, find that pimp that I saw on the way, and just kill him with my bare hands. That was the first time in my life that I really felt like I could actually kill a person. Because I'm so damn, I did not know that about myself. And that was the thing in my life that made me understand the novel Frankenstein. Because there is this scene where the monster kills the child, right? And I was like, how can I portray this? How can I be honest while doing this scene? And I had to dig, I had to go to that particular memory to understand what's going on. But that, I mean, the big cathartic moment again came during rehearsals. Because when you meet an audience, I mean, you need to be done. Otherwise, it gets very like therapy, blah, 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 blah. You need to be done with your journey in order to take an audience through a cathartic moment. If I say it really quick, cathartic. Yeah. So I mean, the work with Frankenstein as a way to deal with India was one of them. And I can honestly tell you, I'm still not done with dealing with Lesbos. I mean, I try to engage politically in the ways that I can. But that's on another level. But it's also like there is so much hope in all of this. Like, I've seen so many beautiful things. Like on Lesbos, I saw mothers that, I mean, kids are kids. They're like, oh shit, we're in a raft, I'm freezing, this is scary. 2 hours later, they're like, hey, you know, now it's a new day. But the mothers understand, because it was mostly mothers and the children, the mothers understand what just happened. And when those mothers saw the children laughing, they lost control. They started to sing and dance. Like, I can't do this, but you know, they say, oh, this kind of singing. They were just dancing in the night like crazy because they were so happy to see the children laugh. It's like, you see the most beautiful thing in Kamatipura. I saw when we were doing the show for the mothers, I remember I saw this one mother holding up her child. She was standing in the back and she was this tiny, skinny woman. She was holding her child on her, like, straight arms so the child could see the clowns. And I'm not religious in that sense. I don't like, I'm not Christian or anything. But I was invited to give a speech in a church. This Christian tradition of the confirmation. When you're 14-year-old, you go to like a camp and learn about Christianity to kind of confirm your belief. And I remember I was invited to give a speech there, and I was sharing this story, and I said that this is the only image that I need of God. A mother holding her child like that. So I mean, everybody's saying, it's like, oh, you're giving so much, oh, you're giving away so much of yourself. And I'm like, no, but I get a lot. I get the most beautiful gifts from these people who are like going through things that I cannot even understand. And also, I mean, the gifts that the fact that it was these girls in Kamatipura that made me understand how hilarious it could be to drop your crown. And then I go to Sweden, and I nowadays only the rich schools in Sweden can buy my show because, you know, economies, blah, blah, blah. These rich kids in Sweden, they laugh at the jokes that these girls in Kamatipura came up with. And I tell them after the show, I'm like, well, thank you for coming, thank you for laughing. Actually, you're laughing at the same thing as kids in India and China are laughing at. I don't say poor kids because you don't want to put that stamp, right? And then the teachers email me. A couple of weeks later, the teachers always email me and say, the kids are still talking about that they are laughing at the same thing as kids on the other side of the globe are laughing at. So it's the same thing, like, you know, when you connect the audience, oh, you're laughing too, look, you're both laughing. I feel I'm doing the same thing, like connecting, oh, Sweden, China, India, whatever. So this is my catharsis. This is, all the hope that I also love to share these stories, because then it gets meaningful, right? We live in a time where there are so few things that actually give us the hope. So I'm very grateful to get a chance to share these stories. Was that, I don't know what time it is, but that all of a sudden felt like a great ending. No, we have oceans of time. We have 20 more minutes. Yeah. How are you feeling, guys? Should we talk more? Do you have more questions? I felt that I said all that I wanted to say today and a whole lot more. Are there more? Yes, please. Cognitive empathy, I love that word. I do think it consumes me. Another beautiful story, I've been doing a lot of Clowns Without Borders projects in China. I haven't even mentioned that because that's another big story. But when I came back to Sweden, and this acupuncture guy, he just wrote to me and said, hey, I've seen what you're doing. I've seen your Facebook posts. I've seen what you're doing for the children of China. I want to give something back to you. I think that you are, acupuncture and Chinese medicine, they talk a lot about like the different organs and the different centers, right? And you should have the energy in the different organs. So he said, I think you're emptying your heart. Please come and I'll give you free treatments and I will recharge your heart. And I thought that was so incredibly beautiful. And it hurt like hell. But yes, I do. It is consuming, period. So need to be as nice as possible to yourself. And I'm a struggling artist. There's not a lot of money in my business, and it is hard. It's difficult to recharge. And that's usually because people are like, oh, it must be so hard to be on this travel. So I was like, yeah, well, it's also really hard to go back to Sweden and try to make ends meet and pay the rent. So it's all connected. It really is. But I love the term cognitive empathy. And I'm also thinking that, to me, design is truly an art form. Whatever you're designing. Where is it, this beautiful thing? This thing that I was given before I started talking. Is it here? Yes, okay. Can we show it? Just the music instrument. What's the name of this instrument? The Vina. Vida. Vina. The Vina or just Vina? Vina. Vina. Nice. To me, this design, it's really because I did not expect this at all. I was really moved when I saw it. There's something with the lines and everything. I get touched by this. I'm not bullshitting. I really do. Thank you. So, to me, it can't only be cognitive. The brain is not smart enough to think of that. You need to engage your heart as well. I don't know anything about this. I'm just guessing, but that's how I understand it. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. How do I distance from... Yeah, how do I create a distance from the characters? I don't think I ever even tried or wanted to. But I think that, I have the privilege and the curse to... I run my own theater company, which means I decide myself what parts I want to do. It's a lot of job, but it's also a lot of freedom. So, for example, when I did Frankenstein, it was because I really, really wanted to do Frankenstein. Because read the novel if you haven't read it. It's amazing. I did it because the themes and the questions and all this thing that Frankenstein deals with, it's part of my life. It's something that I also deal with. And then, the way I did the monster, this is how I created the monster's body. Of course, this thing goes away, and I go for a massage and all that after the shows. But this is just something physical that I take away. But these questions of what is the nature of evil? It's something that I don't want to separate myself from it. But to me, it's the same experience. If I watch a film that really moves me, it can stay with me for days. or if I read a book. And to me, that experience is not different from playing a character that really like hits a string in me. And of course, I mean, all art forms, you do invest yourself. And it can be, as you said, beautifully consuming, yeah. It's part of our life, I think. And in a perfect world, artists would make enough money to actually take a couple of hours every day to take a walk, go to the gym, hit a punching bag, or whatever they need to do to recover. Because, I mean, taking care of yourself is an economical question, period. I try to be, I reached my 40s. It's getting harder and harder every year to take care of your body. I try to really be generous to myself. Prioritize those walks and those yoga classes and everything. So it's not so much related to that particular character, but more of a lifestyle. Yeah. This India trip was supposed to be a vacation and yoga trip, but then I got this cool invitation, so I'll do that some other time. I'm having so much fun with you guys. I really, really enjoy this. Thank you so much for your energy and your focus and your engagement. Thank you. How shall we call it a day? And I'll be here. I mean, I'll be hanging around here. Feel free to come up and talk to me or whatever. I won't run away. I have to. I think Ahmedabad is trying to kill me using air condition. Yes, I caught a cold like yesterday evening. I was like, okay, I'm catching a cold. No. So I hardly slept last night. I was up 6 o'clock in the morning. I gave 3 workshops at a kindergarten before lunch. I came here, I ate, I slept for 45 minutes, and I came here to give the talk, and my friends who I met in Kerala were like, you look horrible. But I won't run back to my hotel and sleep. I'll hang around for a while and chat with you guys. Thank you so much. This has been truly amazing. You want to say something, Preeti? No? Yeah. Yeah. No, I was actually in India when it happened, and then I was going from India to Sweden, and for the first time ever I experienced, can you step aside, sir, we want to talk to you in private. 7 times. They were like looking at my passport, like, okay, have you been to China 9 times? For the past 5 years. But I want to tell you 2 things about China. And this is kind of a reply to, what people in Sweden usually ask me about China and all. I want to tell you 2 things. And the first thing is that the reason why I started going there is because I was watching Jackie Chan movies as a kid, and I always wanted to go to China and learn Kung Fu. And I went there a little bit too late. I was 30 when I got there, and I started Kung Fu, and then I hurt myself. I meet the most amazing people there. They are kind, and they are warm-hearted, and I think this is a safe space, but I think if you haven't been there, you can't understand the bizarre level of oppression that they live under and the censorship. I can give you one example. So the only social media that is allowed and is working is the one that the government are running, the WeChat, which is, by the way, banned in India, I just noticed. It caused me a lot of problems. So the government control everything. On the 1 year anniversary is the wrong word, but so there were big lockdowns in Shanghai, right? That the big lockdowns kind of started these huge protests, and it was really scary for a while. Exactly 1 year after the lockdown started, the government banned the word "one" on social media. You couldn't put a status like an update saying, using the word "one," because they didn't want people to say, hey, remember what happened 1 year ago. Like the level, people do not know about Tiananmen Square. There are 1.4 billion people who do not know what happened on Tiananmen Square. So we have this expression, living under a rock. Yeah, that's what's going on. And I feel so much for these people because, I mean, it's so easy to say, what are you doing, guys? You're crazy. But the way that normal people are living their life, it's really like shook. And as soon as China is doing something that's being criticized in the everyday, like in the global press, they don't ban the global newspapers. New York Times is banned, but all the others are still allowed. But they slow down the internet so you can't access them. And the Chinese media is filled with another like, oh, do you know what the Japanese did during the Second World War? They don't know. They literally don't know. And it's so crazy, but I think it's so important. So that's one thing I really want to share. There's another thing that I also think people in general should know about, at least in Sweden. When the COVID happened, I mean, it started in China, as far as we know, right? A lot of Swedish people were making jokes about, oh, in China, hygiene and diseases and all that. It's quite an obvious joke, right? The funny part is that a lot of these people who are making these jokes, they are I'm going to use the word woke now. I mean, I know this is a word that I really think political correctness is a good thing. And I don't know what woke means in this context, but my woke friends, who were always like, you do not use that word about African people, and you do not use that pronoun. All these people were making jokes about Chinese people being sick. Because no one knows that during the Second World War, the Japanese labeled China the sick man of Asia, in the same way that Hitler labeled the Jews traitors and rats and all these things. This was a way to dehumanize Chinese people. Bruce Lee had his big breakthrough in a film where the Japanese are invading China and they make a sign saying sick man of Asia, and he does a jump kick and breaks that sign. That was his big breakthrough. The sick man of Asia is huge in China. We don't know. We know, at least in Europe, we're very aware that India, that Africa, etc., has a history of colonization. We don't know that China was colonized. So that's also one thing that, yeah, it's good to be aware of. The third thing I want to say about China is, so the one-child policy, of course, affected the country. And this huge pressure of kids having no spare time. From the age of 4, they learn to do auditions to get into the best kindergartens, so to get into the best schools, etc., etc., etc. The competition is bizarre. Yes. They have to give a speech to be selected for the best kindergartens. Yeah. People ask me can you train my child? No, because I have a heart. The pressure is enormous. They don't have brothers and sisters. So there's no one to play with. There's no playing time in school. So there's a generation of children who do not know how to play. And the level of mental illness among children are exploding. The amount of children's suicide is exploding. And I did drama exercise with these kids. All this drama exercise that I've been doing in USA and India, Nepal and Europe, yada, 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 Africa. Like, oh, you pair up 2 and 2 and you play this. And I pair them up 2 and 2 and they're just looking at each other. So like, well, what should I do with this person? They don't know how to play. And it's heartbreaking beyond belief. There are children who do not know how to play. I did not believe that this could exist. Again, the clowning is working really well to tickle them a little bit and make them open up. But it's because it's an idea that you plant in a person's brain. So in China, all the parents, not all the parents, but many parents hit their children, and it's normal, and it's like that's how it should be. I mean, why? Huh? Does it happen? Yeah, it's normal, yeah. Sweden was the first country in the world that banned this in the 70s. To me, it's like, ugh. But there's something about it in China that's like, you should harden your children. It's not only like a punishment or like, okay, learn this. It's also like, they should be hardened. I mean, and it's this mindset that our country should be ready for a war. It's these tiny little things that you plant in the brains of people that becomes a culture. And it's this idea that don't play, you're wasting your time, be productive. It's super scary, but I really think there's also something hopeful in this. Because if it can change so much, just what thoughts you plant in someone's brain, well, you can also change it for the better. And the strongest way to do it is, let them experience, let them play, let them laugh. No one can take away that memory of you laughing. A few comments on China. I can, and right now we are. So I started doing Clowns Without Project. One more story. I went to China and I got a job to direct a children's show, and we were supposed to do like test shows. And I said, well, if we're in a way giving away shows for free, why don't we find some kids who really need to laugh? So we found a center for children whose parents are in the sex industry. And we gave the show and we gave the workshop, and the parents also came to watch it. And after the show, during the workshop, the parents were playing with the children. And then this one person who was working at the center, she took me aside and she said, these parents, these mostly mothers, they're so ashamed for the job. So they're ashamed in front of the children, so they don't play with the children. There are many mothers who come here to this daycare center for the first time ever because they stay away. It's the first time ever they see where the children are going to in the days. And for some of these mothers, it's actually the first time ever they're playing with their children. And when I heard that this was in 2014, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm moving to China. I'm going to do Clowns Without Borders. And we've been working and working. We reached about 30,000 children. And there are now, clowning doesn't exist in China, but there are now a team of 5 Chinese artists who are doing this without me. So I trained them and I directed them, and they're now taking the ball themselves. So there's hope. And I really believe that. And I just had fun all along. And also, I mean, it's you need to be smart, right? I'm doing this, which means that people say, oh, this guy's doing interesting stuff. Let's buy his shows. I never got paid for these shows, but it helped me to promote myself. So, I mean, I think it's so important to not treat yourself as a martyr. Did I pronounce that word correctly? Martyr, yeah, ish. you know what I mean. But it's so, like, it's so, sometimes it's just so easy to do something. It's so easy to get stuck in this idea that, oh, I'm just one person in this big world and I can do anything. But you can always plant a seed. I mentioned 2 hours ago that we went to a juvenile prison in India and that the kids were not laughing. But we kept going there. The 5th year we went there, they were laughing. The 6th year we went there, this guy comes up to us. He has now turned 18, so he can't be there anymore. He's gonna be released, or what to say. I mean, it's quite, they don't say it's a prison, but it is a prison, but it's not a, you know. And he asked us, can I perform something to you? And he performed for us a clown mime show that he had created himself. He was stealing all our gags, so we had to kill him. No, he can use them. He was using all our gags and jokes in this show, and this show was about what is it like to have a family, because he never had one. He lived on the street his whole life. He had started creating, he worked for years with this show before he started showing it to the other kids in that place. He started working on this show the night after our first visit there, when we thought, no one is laughing, they hate us, let's never go back here. You never know what seed you're planting. And I'm so happy that 6 years later I saw, okay, where did this one go? But you never know what seed you're planting. I'm exhausted. How are you doing? Thank you so much. Did you hear that, camera? She said they loved it. Let's call it a day. Thank you, Ahmedabad. I had a few wonderful days here. I hope I can come back next year. I'm looking at you, Preeti. Yes. Yeah, I'll be around.
Thank you so much. I'm out of words, literally, because this, I wish I could give the vote of thanks today. Anyways, but this was an amazing session. I now invite Professor Rudrajit Bose to please deliver the vote of thanks.
One second. Thank you, Bjorn. I hope I got your name right. I would, because I've always been interested in history, and I always thought if I met a Bjorn Dahlman, it would be a Viking swinging a sword. So to meet a Joker was great. And to be able to laugh and make other people laugh, seeing what you feel and feeling what you see, is a fantastic and a great gift. Thank you for sharing it with us. We, in many ways, are a country that does not celebrate mistakes. So that was a good one. Yeah. It was good for all of us to meet the Frog King. You don't need to be turned into a prince. This is going. Thank you for coming. Please come again. That was great meeting you.
You're so good with my name here. I know I was in Kerala, everybody just called me John. Which is fine, because in China they call me Beyonce. And this is a true story.
So with this, we come to the end of day one. Today has been a day full of inspiring and motivating sessions. We really have